Hey everyone, I'm Megan. Growing up, I always felt like I was living in my sister Lily's shadow. No matter how hard I worked, how much I studied, or how many trophies I won, it seemed like I was invisible. Lily was always the favorite, the golden child, and my parents never let me forget that. In high school, I was at the top of my class and the captain of the track team. You'd think that would get me some recognition, right? Wrong. Every family dinner was all about Lily, her bakery projects, her weekend plans. If I tried to talk about my day, I'd get a half-hearted "that's nice, Megan," and then the conversation would go right back to Lily. It wasn't just annoying, it hurt deeply. To deal with it, I decided to focus on myself. I studied even harder, and when the time came, I earned a full scholarship to college. My best friend's dad, seeing what was going on at home, offered to help with any extra expenses. Honestly, he's been more of a father to me than my real dad ever was. One day, as I was packing for college, my mom walked into my room. She had that look on her face, the one she uses when she's about to ask for something. "Megan, we need to talk," she said, sitting on the edge of my bed. "What is it?" I asked, not looking up from my packing. "It's about Lily," she started. "Her bakery isn't doing well, and we've had to make some tough financial decisions to keep it running." I stopped packing and turned to face her. "What does that have to do with me?" "We've taken out a third mortgage on the house," she admitted, "and we're struggling to keep up. We need you to reconsider your scholarship, maybe stay home and help out with the family business." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. After all these years of them not investing in my future, now they wanted me to give up my dreams for Lily? "No," I said, standing firm. "I've worked too hard for this. I'm going to college." The rest of the conversation was a blur of yelling and crying. My dad called me selfish. Lily said I was ruining her life, but I didn't back down. The day I left for college finally arrived. As I packed my car, I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I was finally leaving, finally starting my own life on my own terms. As I drove away, I didn't look back. I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time, it was mine to control. It was a chilly fall evening, the kind of night that makes you appreciate being indoors. I was in my dorm, halfway through writing a sociology paper, when my phone rang. The screen showed my mom's name, and I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. I hadn't spoken to my parents since I left, and I wasn't eager to start now, but curiosity got the best of me, and I answered. "Hello? Megan, we need to talk." My mom's voice sounded strained, heavier than usual. "It's about the family." I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "What's going on?" "It's your sister's business. It's failing, Megan. We've tried everything, but it's just not working. We're in trouble." For a moment, I felt bad for Lily, but that feeling was quickly overshadowed by the fear of what they might ask from me. "I'm sorry to hear that, but I don't see how." "We took out a third mortgage to save the bakery," she interrupted. She cut in, her voice desperate. "We're drowning in debt, and we need your help." The words hit me hard. Not only had they risked everything for Lily's bakery, but now they expected me to fix it. "What exactly are you asking me to do?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "We need you to come home," Mom said plainly. "Put off school for a while, help with the finances and the bakery. We can't do this without you." I couldn't believe it. They wanted me to give up everything I had worked so hard for, everything I had left behind, to fix their mistakes. Anger boiled inside me, but I kept my voice calm. "No, Mom, I won't do that. I'm not leaving school." There was a long pause, the silence hanging heavily between us. Then Dad's voice came through, harsh and accusing. "You're just going to let your family fail after all we've done for you?" The irony of his words made me want to laugh. "All you've done? Seriously?" I said. "I'm here on a scholarship, Dad, one I earned with no help from you." Mom tried again, this time with a gentler tone. "Megan, please, think of it as helping your sister. You wouldn't want her to suffer, would you?" But I had had enough of their guilt trips. Lily needs to handle her own problems. I have my future to think about. "You're being incredibly selfish, Megan," Dad snapped. "You're part of this family whether you like it or not." "I am," I replied, "but I'm not sacrificing my dreams for Lily's mistakes. I'm sorry you're in this situation, but it's not my responsibility to fix it." The conversation ended not long after. Dad muttered something about being disappointed before hanging up. I sat there with my phone in my hand, feeling both relieved and alone. It was the first time I had stood up to them so clearly, and even though it hurt, it felt right. I tried to go back to my essay, but my mind was elsewhere. I knew this wasn't over, they would come back, try to guilt me again, but I was ready for it. For the first time in my life, I was truly ready to stand up for myself. It was just another Tuesday on campus, full of the usual noise and energy, students walking around between classes. I was at the student center, grabbing a coffee before my next lecture, when I felt a chill. Looking up, my heart dropped. Standing across the room were my parents and Lily, their faces grim. I hadn't expected them to come here, to my world. As they approached, I could feel the eyes of everyone around us, curious about the drama that was about to unfold. Mom was the first to speak, her voice loud enough to draw even more attention. "Megan, we need to talk, now." Taking a deep breath, I stood firm. "We can talk, but I'm not changing my mind." Dad's face flushed with anger. "You're really going to embarrass us like this in front of everyone?" I glanced around. "It seems you're doing a fine job of that yourselves," I replied, my voice steady even though my heart was racing. Then Lily chimed in, her tone dripping with mockery. "Look at Megan, everyone, too good for her own family now that she's a college girl." I clenched my fists, struggling to stay calm. "This isn't about being too good, Lily, it's about me living my life, not cleaning up your messes." The argument escalated quickly, voices rising. Mom started pleading, tears welling up in her eyes. "Megan, please, we're your family, you can't turn your back on us." "You turned your back on me a long time ago," I shot back, my voice shaking with anger, "when you decided that Lily's bakery was more important than my future." Dad scoffed and shook his head. "You're just jealous of Lily's success." I let out a bitter laugh. "Success? Is that what you call bankruptcy and taking out a third mortgage?" By now, everyone in the student center was staring, whispers spreading through the room. I felt the humiliation, but I couldn't let them control me anymore. "I am not responsible for Lily's failures. I am not responsible for your bad financial choices. I am only responsible for myself." Mom's voice cracked as she pleaded, "You're being selfish, Megan, when will you see that?" "No, Mom, I'm being sensible. You may not get that, but I have to look out for my own future, because it's obvious you won't." The argument reached its breaking point. Dad called me a disappointment, and Lily accused me of ruining the family. As they stormed out, Dad tossed a crumpled bill onto the table, not nearly enough to cover their order. It was just like them to leave a mess for me to clean up. As they left, their words hung heavily in the air. I felt the judgment from those who didn't understand, but among the stares, I noticed a few nods of support. Some people got it. I sat back down, my coffee cold and untouched, feeling both defeated and victorious. I realized then that standing up for myself might mean losing them, but maybe that was the price of finally being free. As the chatter around me resumed, I knew this was a turning point. There was no going back, only forward. After that confrontation with my family, I felt drained and emotionally raw. I needed comfort, so I headed to the one place where I always felt welcome, the little diner just off campus. The bell above the door jingled as I walked in, a familiar, comforting sound. The warm aroma of coffee and freshly baked pies wrapped around me, and for a moment, I felt at ease. Here, I wasn't the girl caught up in family drama, I was just Megan. I slid into my usual booth. Jenny, one of the diner's owners, noticed my troubled expression right away. She came over with a pot of coffee in hand, concern in her eyes. "Rough day?" she asked, pouring me a cup. I nodded, giving her a small, tired smile. "You could say that." Jenny sat across from me, her face full of sympathy. "You want to talk about it? Or I can just sit here and listen." Taking a deep breath, I told her everything, the surprise visit from my parents and Lily, the argument, their accusations, and how humiliated I felt in front of everyone. As I spoke, Jenny's frown deepened, her eyes reflecting a quiet anger on my behalf. "That's just not right, Megan," she said firmly. "You've been nothing but hardworking and kind. You don't deserve any of that." Just then, Tom, Jenny's husband and co-owner of the diner, joined us, carrying a plate of my favorite chocolate chip cookies. He slid the plate in front of me with a kind smile. "Heard a bit about what happened," he said. "You know, blood isn't always family. Sometimes it's the people who stand by you when the storm hits." His words, simple but heartfelt, struck a chord in me. Here were these two people, who hadn't known much about my personal struggles until now, showing more love and care than my own family had in years. Jenny gently squeezed my hand. "We're here for you, Megan, whatever you need. You're part of our diner family, and we look out for each other." Hearing that, I felt a warmth I hadn't felt in a long time, true belonging, and for the first time, I believed I didn't have to face everything alone. Tears welled up in my eyes, overwhelmed by Jenny and Tom's kindness and support. "Thank you, both of you," I said, my voice soft. "It means more than you know." As we continued talking, the warm atmosphere of the diner, the gentle clatter of dishes, the soft hum of conversation, slowly lifted my spirits. I was reminded that there were people who valued and appreciated me for who I truly was. Being with Jenny and Tom made me realize an important truth: family isn't just about blood, it's about the people who stand by you, who support you, and who believe in you. Their encouragement left me feeling renewed, and as I left the diner that evening, I felt a strong sense of purpose. The heavy burden of my family's expectations and criticism felt lighter, knowing I had people who believed in me, in my choices, and in my future. This newfound strength helped solidify my resolve to push forward with my education and life, determined to define success on my own terms. As I walked back to my dorm under the starry sky, I understood that while the road ahead might be lonely at times, I wasn't truly alone. Jenny and Tom had shown me that family can be chosen, and that support can come from unexpected places. Their kindness gave me a sense of belonging, and for that, I was deeply grateful. They taught me that choosing your family can bring peace and happiness that blood ties might not always provide. Months passed, each one bringing me closer to my goals. My grades were excellent. I was actively involved in key campus activities, and I had secured an internship that promised a bright future. As I thrived both academically and personally, I felt a strong sense of pride and accomplishment, one that was entirely my own. This new chapter of my life was filled with independence and support from friends and mentors who genuinely believed in my potential. One crisp morning, while scrolling through the news on my phone before class, a headline caught my attention. It was about Lily's Bakery. The article detailed a major health scandal, unsanitary conditions, and multiple violations that had gone unchecked for too long. The fallout was disastrous. The bakery had been shut down, and the media frenzy that followed ruined the family's reputation beyond repair. Sitting in the quiet of the library, I was flooded with a complicated mix of emotions. I took no pleasure in seeing Lily and my parents suffer, but there was a grim sense of inevitability about it. Their reckless decisions, years of bending rules and prioritizing Lily at all costs, had finally caught up with them. It was a stark reminder of just how far I had distanced myself from that world of chaos and neglect. In the weeks that followed, news of their financial collapse spread throughout town. My parents had invested everything into the bakery, ignoring their other responsibilities and even their own well-being. Now, with the business gone, they were left with nothing but debts and regrets. It was a harsh reality that my family had to face alone, one they had brought upon themselves. Despite the chaos unfolding back home, my life on campus was thriving. I often thought about the stark difference between my steady rise and their dramatic fall. But it wasn't just about money or reputation, it was about integrity, making choices that reflected my values and ambitions. I had chosen a path of hard work and honesty, breaking free from the toxic environment that had dominated my past. One evening, while discussing my future with my mentor, Professor Hawkins, he said something that stuck with me. "Megan, it's not just about surviving the storm," he mused, "it's about learning to dance in the rain." His words hit home. Yes, I had been through a lot, but more importantly, I had grown from it. I had created a life defined by my own successes and the community I had built around me, not by the failures of my family. As I walked back to my dorm that night, the soft glow of the streetlights lit my path, and I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. The struggles with my family now felt like a distant storm, its echoes barely reaching me. In its place was a quiet confidence in my own abilities and decisions. I knew challenges would come, but I was equipped to face them with the support and strength I had gained. My family's downfall, while sad, was a direct result of their own choices, missteps that had led to their collapse. But I was building something different, something real, sustainable, and true to who I was. As I closed the door to my room, a smile crossed my face. It was the smile of someone who had not only survived, but thrived. I had taken control of my own destiny and was ready to embrace whatever the future had in store, with an unshakable spirit. That's the end of Megan's story. What would you have done in her situation? Would you have made the same decisions? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this.
Erica gazed spellbound at her reflection in the mirror. In its mysterious depths, there was a girl of fairy tale beauty, as if descended from the paintings of the old masters. She had tender porcelain skin, huge blue eyes, framed by pointed lashes that had never known cosmetics, pouty lips of perfect shape, high breasts, a slim waist, and a cloud of pristine white lace. How she dreamed of having it all: a wedding dress worthy of a princess, a veil with a modest strand of natural pearls, and a ring are every girl's dream, no matter how independent they pretend to be. However, Erica had no idea how much her engagement ring with diamonds might cost, as she had never worn such jewellery before. Her fiancé, Oscar, could easily afford such a luxurious ring and much more. He could afford anything he wanted, like choosing Erica, the most ordinary girl from a humble family with a very average income, out of hundreds of more suitable options. Surely such adulterous relationships were not approved of in his circle. However, Oscar Hurst didn't give a damn about anyone's opinion but his own. He took whatever he wanted, ignoring obstacles, let alone someone's opinion. Erica looked at herself in the mirror once again and imagined Oscar's imposing figure next to her. A balding, perhaps excessively full 40-year-old man. He looked even older than his years. However, it didn't matter to her. But what power and what force emanated from him. What a reliable hand he had. No, he was not a prince. He was a king. Erica adjusted her hair, admired her reflection, and pondered, remembering from the very beginning the story of her acquaintance with this incomprehensible and even frightening man. She didn't want to go to the restaurant with the girls back then. She resisted as much as she could, but her friend stated that she would be greatly offended if Erica didn't immediately go to celebrate her birthday. Erica didn't like such amusements. Restaurants and clubs were definitely not her thing, and Chris wouldn't approve of it either. "So are you coming with us?" Mimi clarified. "Okay, I'll go, but I don't even know what to wear," said Erica. "Do you want me to lend you that cornflower blue dress?" Mimi was delighted. Erica thought for a moment. Mimi did have a stunning dress in a wonderful shade that matched her eyes perfectly. Although it was short and quite revealing a dress, it was a birthday party, and she wouldn't even dance. She would just sit at the table. "Okay," she gave in, and her friends squealed with joy. But the closer the evening got, the less Erica wanted to go to the restaurant. Some premonition wouldn't let her rest. Besides, she didn't tell her boyfriend Chris where she was going, just wrote that they would be celebrating Mimi's birthday. However, time inexorably approached the appointed hour, and Erica, waving her doubts aside, put on that very dress, high-heeled shoes, and added a silver chain. She was amazed at how beautiful she looked at that moment. Spinning around the room, Erica daydreamed. It would be great if Chris saw her like this. However, she had enough sense to realize that her boyfriend would immediately start asking if they were having a bachelorette party, if the dress was not too revealing, and so on and so forth. "I won't answer to anyone," the girl suddenly got offended. "When I become his wife, then let him tell me what to wear. And even then, I think, if I should listen to him, I'm a free person. I don't need to follow any domestic rules." And, proudly raising her nose, she went to the restaurant. The girls were already waiting at the entrance. Soon they were already sitting in a cozy corner, fenced off from the common space. The girls settled on comfortable sofas and excitedly chatted, exchanging impressions. Mimi looked simply gorgeous in a new, tight-fitting dress that emphasized her excellent figure. It felt like she was in her element here. Visits to restaurants were her usual thing. Triumphantly surveying the girls and accepting gifts and congratulations, Mimi ordered for everyone. Carefully sipping the wine from a tall glass, Erica finally allowed herself to relax and enjoy the delightful bouquet of an expensive drink, pleasant music, and the chic atmosphere. "I wish every evening could be spent like this," she thought, "or at least every weekend." She imagined entering a restaurant arm in arm with Chris, both dressed in luxurious suits, being greeted by an arrogant maître d'hôtel who would bow to them and guide them to the best seats. But it was just a dream. Once Chris finished his military service and found a good-paying job, they could go to restaurants and everything would be good. For now, she had to wait. Not much longer, though. Chris would be back in the spring, and maybe he would even propose. He had hinted at it a few times already. "Erica, what are you daydreaming about?" Mimi called out, bringing her back to reality. "You're not eating anything. Try it. It's really delicious." Erica, struggling to come back to reality, nodded and forked something incredibly tasty. "Everybody stay where you are. This is the police." Suddenly a powerful voice rang out, and Erica almost choked. In front of them stood a real cop from an action movie, playing with handcuffs. The tall blonde, in a perfectly fitting uniform, looked over them and unexpectedly tossed the cap onto Mimi's lap. The girl squealed and clapped her hands. "Mimi, you said we'd just sit alone." Erica said it reproachfully, realizing who was in front of her. As if to confirm her hunch, the cop began unbuttoning his uniform. Following the cap, the holster flew to the ground. The guy moved gracefully to the music, gradually revealing his beautifully toned body. But suddenly, someone roared, "Get out of here!" Two drunk men with the appearance of typical thugs barged into their cozy room. Glancing at the shrinking girls, they laughed. "Hey girls, do you want to look at naked men? We'll give you a dance right now, and you don't have to pay. Instead, you can earn some." The unfortunate dancer, revealing a hefty kick, picked up his props and disappeared, glad he got off easy. The thugs, considering the matter settled, made their way to the table, forcing the girls to huddle together. "What are we celebrating, chicks?" one of them asked. "It's my birthday," Mimi timidly said. "Why so quiet, ladies?" The second one winked and tried to pinch the closest girl's breast. She yelped and blushed. The man laughed. "Well, let's drink to the birthday girl. Bring whiskey." The waiter quickly poured whiskey into the glasses at their command. "I don't drink whiskey," Erica said. She was terrified, but inside she was boiling with anger and resentment at the ruined celebration. "Brave girl, look at her," the first thug marveled. "I love women with character. Don't worry, you'll drink with us." He brought the glass to the girl's lips. She clenched her lips and shook her head. "Drink when you're told to," the thug barked, pulling out his gun. The girl screamed, trembling with fear. "I won't," insisted Erica. "Leave the girl alone," a quiet voice rang out. Erica didn't even notice the two broad-shouldered men who suddenly appeared next to her. They exuded strength and confidence that made it clear they would be obeyed. "Get lost," the first thug began to bluster. However, the second one leaned in and whispered something in his ear. Erica only heard one word, or rather a last name, "Mr. Hurst." Before their eyes, the thug's face changed. Cursing under his breath, he put away his weapon, nodded to his friend, and they both quickly got up and disappeared. "You can continue to have fun. No one will disturb you," one of the men said calmly. However, the celebration was already ruined, and the girls gathered their things and left, without looking at each other. Erica made her way to the exit, weaving between tables when she was blocked. Looking up, Erica recognized one of the rescuers. "Dear lady," the man said politely, which didn't match his appearance as a typical gym rat, "I am authorized to deliver an invitation to you from a highly respected man who believes that he simply must make amends for the offense committed against you by that riffraff who doesn't belong to a decent restaurant." "Thank you, I'm fine. No need to make amends. Can I just go home?" Erica looked around, but her friends were already out of sight. She felt trapped. "Let me at least make sure you get home safely," the man said, not allowing her to object. He quietly paid something to the waiter and led Erica to the exit. A taxi appeared as if by magic. A minute later, the panting waiter handed Erica a huge bouquet of flowers. The bewildered girl accepted it and drove home. At the entrance, Erica saw the black car had pulled up not far from her and then immediately drove away. And she thought that she saw the same car in the parking lot of the restaurant. Or maybe it was just her imagination running wild. Only when she entered her apartment, closed the door, and leaned back against it to calm her wildly beating heart, did Erica feel a bit better. She put the flowers in a vase, admiring the beauty of the luxurious bouquet, and then Mimi called. "Erica, where did you go? We were worried." Mimi's voice was filled with genuine concern. "Sorry, Mimi, I was distracted. The man who spoke up for us walked me out and gave me the flowers. He apologized on behalf of some serious man," Erica said, thoughtfully looking at the bouquet. "On behalf of whom?" Mimi seemed to choke on the stupidity of her question. "Erica, did you fall off the moon? It's Mr. Hurst, the owner of the city, essentially. Everything is his, and that restaurant is his too." Mimi was bursting with excitement. Apparently the girl had already recovered from the scare, and now everything that had happened seemed to her like an interesting adventure. "Wait, you say he gave you flowers and apologized? Interesting. Why to you? It was actually my birthday." Erica felt envy in her friend's voice. "It's probably for all of us," she assured her friend. "I'll bring you a bouquet tomorrow, so you'll have one." "I already have one," Mimi burst out laughing. "I called my parents. They're organizing a family dinner. It won't be as fun without a cop, but there will definitely be gifts and flowers." "Happy birthday again." Erica put down her phone and went to make coffee. Looking at the foam rising in the pot, the girl sorted through the events of the evening, and with each passing minute, she became more anxious. How could she get involved in this story with the gangsters? Calming herself down, Erica wrote to Chris, "I love you. Good night." Let him read it and smile. Unfortunately, these 2 months can't pass quickly enough. When Chris returns, everything will change at once. Maybe even her last name. Coffee and a good book made the girl's evening so enjoyable that she gradually forgot about the unsuccessful trip to the restaurant, thinking that everything would end there. But she was wrong. Nothing ended because the next morning, a driver of a black SUV called out to her at the entrance. "Erica, good morning. I have an order to take you to your lessons and wherever you need to go. This is a gift from Mr. Hurst." "I'm sorry, I don't know how to address you," Erica began. "Stuart," the driver introduced himself. "So, Stuart," the girl continued, "please tell your Mr. Hurst that I appreciate his concern, but I don't need it at all. I'm fine, and no one is going to chase me." "Erica," Stuart shook his head with a smile, the way adults look at a foolish child, "understand 2 simple things. First, you can't know for sure that yesterday's thugs won't want to take revenge on one of you for the humiliation, and publicly at that. And secondly, it's not worth refusing gifts from my boss." It was said with such intonation that Erica flinched. What a mess. I believed that the story was over, she thought, and then raised her head high and got into the car. "Okay, I'm really rushing to get to the college. I would be grateful if you could give me a ride," she said in a queenly tone. Stuart, attentively waiting for her reaction, even whistled admiringly and raised his thumb. However, he behaved impeccably, not trying to talk or flirt in the car, and they arrived at the college in no time. "What time do classes end?" he asked when Erica got out of the car. "At 4, Erica quickly replied, trying to figure out how to escape from the intrusive service much earlier. "Don't do anything silly. I don't advise it," Stuart warned her, as if reading her thoughts. Considerate, friendly advice. For some reason, Erica's heart skipped a beat, even though he said it calmly and without any threats. During class, she couldn't concentrate on anything else. She kept looking at her watch, so the teacher even made a remark. An attentive Mimi wrote, "Problems?" "Everything's fine," Erica lied, deciding for herself whether to run away from Stuart or listen to him and be obedient. After all, he wasn't suggesting anything bad, at least not yet. However, the girl's freedom-loving nature rebelled against such arbitrariness. What's going on? She's not an object to be decided for. When she leaves class and how she gets home, it's her life. At 3 o'clock, as soon as classes ended, she quietly slipped out onto the street, mentally laughing at the intrusive bodyguard. "Did you get off early?" came the voice in her ear. Erica almost jumped and turned sharply. Stuart was standing 2 steps away from her, grinning. Without saying a word, the driver firmly grabbed her elbow and led her to the car. Erica jerked once, twice, in vain. Her hand was like in a steel trap. "I'll scream," she warned. Stuart smiled. "Well, scream, but I'm sure no one will help. So, are you going to scream or go home?" Against her will, Erica smiled. The man spoke in the same peaceful tone and didn't offer anything criminal. "Let's go home," she gave in finally. Stuart drove her to her destination in a few minutes, and when the girl got out, he started unloading bags from the trunk. Without any explanation, he headed towards Erica, who was surprised. She started thinking about how to manage not to let him into her apartment, but she immediately realized the futility of this idea. Stuart took off his shoes in the hallway and walked to the kitchen. Erica was unexpectedly ashamed of the meagerness of the environment in which she lived. However, the man remained silent, efficiently stuffing food into the refrigerator. "Why is this? No need," the girl weakly protested. "It's not my initiative. Mr. Hurst ordered to provide food," Stuart calmly replied. "I'll come by tomorrow morning." And again, wearing his fancy shoes, he finally disappeared behind the door. Erica sat down on a stool and stared at the fridge before pulling out her phone and typing "Mr. Hurst" into the search bar. A determined, self-assured face stared back at her. Though there wasn't much information, it became clear that he owned the city and was capable of buying anything his heart desired. "He can't buy me." Erica stuck out her tongue at Mr. Hurst's photo, thinking before getting up and opening the fridge. "Maybe I should throw his groceries out," she thought. However, the idea seemed too childish. The smell of everything inside was magnificent. After hesitating for another minute, Erica resolutely began to prepare herself a royal treat. This went on for a week. Stuart drove her to the college and back, periodically replenishing supplies. Once she returned home, Erica discovered that the dripping faucet had been replaced and a brand new mirror had appeared in the tiny bathroom. The girl was outraged and expressed her displeasure to Stuart the next morning. He listened with an unperturbed expression, then stopped the car and turned to her. "Erica," Stuart began in a peaceful tone, "understand one simple thing. You have caught the attention of a very influential person who knows what he wants and is used to getting it. Believe me, thousands of young girls would come running at the snap of his fingers. But right now, he's behaving like I've never seen him before in my memory. I don't know what it is, but you touched him somehow. So take friendly advice. Don't resist and enjoy the gifts." "Did anyone ask me?" Erica flared up. "I have a fiancé, by the way. He'll be back from the army soon and we'll get married." "And will you live impoverished like this?" Stuart shook his head. "Do you think your Chris can find a job in the city if Mr. Hurst doesn't want it?" "You've already found out all about me, haven't you?" Erica clenched her fists. Stuart nodded seriously and said, "Of course." Erica opened her mouth, then closed it. There was really nothing to say. "Erica, he's a good man," Stuart added after a pause. "Not a saint, of course. There are no saints where big money is involved. But in his own way, he's fair and extremely lonely. He lost his wife 10 years ago and hasn't had any serious relationships since. Only girls for the night." Erica shivered, realizing what Mr. Hurst wanted, and that the same fate could await her. "What happened to his wife?" she asked, not understanding why she was curious. "She died of cancer. They couldn't save her," Stuart replied shortly. "No amount of money helped. Since then, he closed himself off, went into business, has no children, and lives exclusively for himself." "And what do I have to do with this?" Erica protested. "I was living quietly and would have continued to do so. I didn't ask to be rescued." "Foolish," Stuart replied condescendingly. "You have no idea what kind of thugs then came. Monsters with no morals whatsoever. Believe me, without our intervention, everything could have ended very, very badly. Does Mr. Hurst save everyone in a difficult situation? Erica asked angrily. No, of course not. But I know for sure that he noticed you in the first minute, and then he kept looking in your direction. Maybe not for me. Erica tried to resist. Mimi is much prettier and... At you. Don't doubt it. Stuart smiled. You stood out among the girls. You were awkward, constantly trying to fix your dress, and you have the most unusual eyes imaginable. Erica blushed at this unexpected admission. She still felt very uncomfortable. The most incredible plans were spinning in her head about how to get rid of Mr. Hurst's attention. Shall we go? Stuart suggested peacefully. Erica nodded. Don't plan anything for tomorrow, he added. You're invited to the theatre. The dress is ready, no refusal accepted. Now Erica flared up with indignation. I'm not a toy. Stuart shook his head. Have you read about the taming of the shrew? Erica nodded reluctantly. Well, that's the name of the play. Stuart smirked. Mr. Hurst is a man with a sense of humour. I'm sure you'll appreciate it. Finally alone, Erica fell onto the bed with resignation. What to do? Leave the city? Write to Chris? Go to the police? Each option seemed worse than the other, so she did what any woman would do. She cried her heart out, washed her face, and tried on the dress Stuart had left. It fit her perfectly and made her look incredible. I'm going to the theatre, Erica declared to herself, her eyes sparkling. And I'm finally going to talk to Mr. Hurst. He needs to know that not everything in life can be bought and sold. The next evening, resolute and stunning in her evening gown, clutching her purse and walking in heels, Erica waited for Stuart. When he opened the car door for her, he whistled in admiration. It felt nice, even though she wouldn't admit it to herself. Her heart raced with anticipation. The entire ride, thinking about meeting the mysterious Mr. Hurst. But he has no right to care for me so well, to send me flowers and food. I should have refused from the start and set the record straight. Although, such attention is rather flattering, she thought. Anyway, it will all be resolved tonight. I'll explain to this man that I have a fiancé and that I'm responsible for my own life. That's it. Mr. Hurst won't kill me for saying no, will he? Just then the car stopped, the door opened, and Erica was enveloped in the magical fragrance of expensive cologne. Someone took her hand and helped her out. In the next moment, she was face to face with the very same Oscar Hurst she had been rehearsing to talk to. Good evening, Erica. You're enchanting. I am immensely grateful you accepted my invitation. His voice was warm and velvety, and he still held her hand. Erica silently studied Mr. Hurst. She couldn't find the words. In his presence she felt almost hypnotized. He wasn't at all like his photo on the internet. Taller, less gruff, though prone to being overweight. However, his chiseled muscles were visible even under his perfectly tailored suit. The two of them stood, sizing each other up like dueling opponents. Mr. Hurst, thinking Erica was nervous and scared, spoke again. Erica, you're trembling all over. Am I really that intimidating to you? I don't understand. All the harsh words she had come up with vanished. He suppressed her with his strengths of will and self-confidence. And now Erica was indeed trembling like a schoolgirl before the principal. Why you? Why me? Mr. Hurst smiled. His face, cold and arrogant until now, has transformed in the most incredible way. You caught my eye back at the restaurant. You don't even realize how much you stood out from the crowd, despite the dress that was a little uncomfortable. And you didn't want to be in that restaurant at all, did you? You don't go to places like that often. Erica nodded, feeling like a rabbit in front of a snake. You piqued my interest, and of course I couldn't allow you to be mistreated in my restaurant, Mr. Hurst continued, his tone soft. Your restaurant? Erica raised her head, deciding to go on the offensive. Everything here is yours, isn't it? And you've decided. Don't say unnecessary words, Mr. Hurst warned, gesturing with his palm. Yes, it's true that I control a lot in this city and have many possessions, but that doesn't mean I'm trying to buy your attention or pressure you. The theatre invitation is an opportunity for a personal introduction. Do you like Shakespeare? Yes, I do. And you? Erica asked challengingly. Oscar shrugged. I do too. I've read the complete works and seen productions in various well-known theatres, not just domestic ones. If you like, you can quiz me. He smiled, looking at Erica. The play turned out to be magnificent. Erica laughed until tears streamed down her face at the witty lines. Finally, she was able to relax and immerse herself in the magical world of the theatre. Besides, watching the performance from the VIP box was undoubtedly more pleasant than looking at the action behind the heads of other viewers. They brought them champagne, fruit and candy. The girl enjoyed the feeling of comfort from Oscar's remarks, which were always appropriate and extremely elegant. All the negativity she had felt all week disappeared, and she became herself again, cheerful, open and trusting. They watched the play in one breath. When the actors came out and bowed to the applause of the audience, they were given luxurious bouquets. Glancing out of the corner of her eye at Oscar Hurst, Erica realized that these signs of attention were more from him. For some reason, it made her very pleased, as if she had received the flowers herself. As if reading her thoughts, a bouquet was brought to the box. This is for you, Erica, for a wonderful evening you gave me. Believe me, I haven't relaxed like this in a long time, Oscar said before she could object. Leaning over, he respectfully kissed her hand. Erica flared up, her mind racing. What would happen next? He would surely demand a continuation now, wouldn't he? And again, she was wrong, because Oscar escorted her to the car and, thanking her, left her. Well, did he eat you alive? Stuart quipped good-naturedly. Erica absent-mindedly shook her head, looking out the window. Yes, she was expecting something else, something more frightening and intrusive, and Mr. Hurst turned out to be a normal man, educated and courteous. And yes, she was very calm and comfortable around him. Erica forbade herself to think about it. She went to the theatre once and that's enough. The next time, she would tell him everything. So you're sure there will be a next time? She caught herself. Stuart watched her through the mirror, not pressing her with questions, apparently understanding the girl's emotional turmoil. When she got home, Erica decided to call Chris, but their conversation left a strange impression. Chris seemed angry, talked reluctantly, didn't ask how she was doing, and she so wanted affectionate words, proof of his love. After hanging up, Erica burst into tears. Why was that? Why did Chris act like that when she needed his help so much? And what if later, after the wedding, some misunderstandings arose? Did she rush into tying herself to this handsome but sometimes incomprehensible guy? Especially since he didn't even offer her anything yet. And then the mobile rang again. Erica grabbed the phone, confident that Chris realized he had offended her with his inattention and was calling back. However, the number was unfamiliar. Hesitating, she accepted the video call. Oscar was looking at her, trembled, almost dropping the phone. I'm sorry. I thought you seemed sad, and I decided to make sure everything was okay. Apparently my intuition did not fail me, he said. Erica was silent, tears streaming down her cheeks. Erica, do you like motorcycles? Oscar asked. The question was so unexpected that she nodded. Then change into jeans and a jacket and come down, her interlocutor said, in a tone that brooked no objections, and then disconnected. Erica sighed. However, she was curious about what he had planned. She quickly changed clothes and went downstairs. At the end of the street, the sound of a powerful engine could be heard, and it was approaching. A minute later, a motorcyclist pulled up next to her. It was Oscar Hurst, and he handed her a second helmet. Get on. She put on the helmet, fastened the strap, and got on behind him. After hesitating for a moment, she wrapped her arms around the motorcyclist's waist, and they took off. Erica felt a sense of horror at first, which was immediately replaced by the delight of the reliable machine's speed and something else that made her heart beat sweetly. They raced through the city, passing rare cars, then left its limits and continued on, so that the asphalt merged into a single continuous line. Erica was screaming something. Oscar was answering her with equally joyful shouts, and they both probably looked like two crazy people who had decided to end their lives this way. However, it was just the opposite. She had never felt so alive, and she really wanted this flight to never end. The asphalt was replaced by a bumpy road, and the driver slowed down, and then the motorcycle took them to the river, wide and unhurried. Oscar turned off the engine and leaned on his foot, giving Erica the opportunity to get off the bike, and they sat together for a long time and were silent. There was only the sky, the river, and they, pensive, who until recently knew nothing about each other. Feeling Erica starting to freeze, Oscar hugged her, warming her with his warmth. She didn't push him away, she just froze, listening to her own feelings. Half an hour later, Oscar reluctantly took his arm away, got up, and extended his hand to her. And then there was the ride again. Only now something else warm was mixed with the delight. "Now I see you're all right," Oscar said to her on parting. "Don't cry anymore, or I won't be able to sleep." And then he got on his magnificent bike and left, and Erica stood for another minute, watching him leave. And this is the same scary Oscar Hurst, without bodyguards, in jeans and a jacket. This is the one she recently hugged, hiding from the wind behind his broad back. "I'm a traitor," Erica said sadly to herself, climbing the stairs because she definitely couldn't tell Chris about this. At home, she took a photo of her and Chris standing with their arms around each other. When he went to the army, Erica printed this photo and put it in a frame. It made it easier for her. She even talked to Chris, addressing this portrait. What happened to them? Why did he change so much and become so cold? Of course, the army is not a sports camp, it's hard work. But why doesn't he understand that she also finds it difficult and very lonely without him? She fell asleep under these thoughts, and she dreamed of a ribbon of highway rushing under the wheels, wind, and a river carrying away all her sorrows. In the morning, Stuart didn't ask any questions, just snorted, evaluating her rested appearance and shining eyes. In the evening, he picked her up, and they chatted a little on the way. Nothing special. Weather, politics, favourite movie. Erica caught herself thinking that she was starting to get used to having her driver and bodyguard in one bottle. She didn't answer the girls' questions, but they noticed that the same car was coming for her. Only Mimi seemed to understand what was going on, and she was clearly envious. Well, Erica didn't have time for parties anyway. She started preparing for exams. And she was also waiting for Oscar Hurst's next move. It happened at another premiere where they went together. The play was, so to speak, for the chosen ones. The production was in French, and in some places, seeing that his companion was struggling to remember, Mr. Hurst whispered the lines of the characters in her ear. There was nothing showy about it, and Erica quickly stopped being embarrassed. And during the intermission, he took her hand and asked, "Erica, will you marry me?" The girl froze, opening and closing her mouth. So unexpected was that question. Seeing her confusion, Oscar smiled. Perhaps everything was supposed to be different. An evening by candlelight, flowers, a ring in a champagne glass, and me kneeling, he said. Erica shook her head, trying to gather her scattered thoughts. "But I don't like to look ridiculous," the man continued, gasping, kneeling suitors. "That's the stuff of vaudeville. Besides, my knee is bad. There's a prosthesis there as a reminder of the past, so I decided to simply ask if you would be willing to be with me. I understand that I'm much older than you. However, I can promise that I can make you happy. Erica shook her head, the words coming out with difficulty. I can't. I'm waiting for my fiancé from the army. Has he proposed to you? Have you said yes? Are you engaged? Oscar quickly asked. Erica didn't want to lie, so she just shook her head. She and Chris never made plans for their future. She decided for both of them that it would be that way. And Chris was becoming increasingly less responsive, dismissing her with brief statements. He was acting extremely strange. As she tried to ask questions, he would just disconnect. What if he had found another girl there? So, I have a chance, Oscar concluded correctly, interpreting her silence. And believe me, I will make the most of it. The same evening, Erica called Chris again. Chris, my dear, talk to me. Explain. What's happening? She said on the phone, but it remained silent. In utter desperation, the girl even called Chris's mother, a number he left for her just in case. But even that extreme measure didn't bring any clarity. Erica, I don't understand either, Mrs. Cumming cried over the phone. It's as if someone switched our boy. He used to be so kind and affectionate. And now he just dismisses me with brief phrases and hangs up. Time went by. Stuart continued to take Erica to and from the college, occasionally replenishing the supplies in the fridge. Chris had stopped writing altogether and stopped answering calls. A month passed, then another. Calling Chris's mother, Erica heard that Chris had decided to stay in the military on contract. Mrs. Cumming wept so much that it was difficult for Erica to calm her down. Looking at the photo of Chris that captured them together, the girl took it out of the frame and put it in an album. Life went on, and it was her life, which she wouldn't allow anyone to break, especially since she didn't feel abandoned anymore. Oscar continued to court her, but he did it unobtrusively and tried to please her with little things. And they had already gone on 2 night rides on a motorcycle. Erica found him less repulsive now. Besides, she noticed envy in women's eyes more than once. They couldn't understand how this girl managed to snag such a solid cat. And Oscar Hurst himself became interested in a provincial girl. They appeared together more and more often, visiting exhibitions, theatres and fashionable movie premieres. Erica got used to this life, which she had only seen in movies before. It was easy and safe for her to be next to this introverted person, clothed in immense power, but never demonstrating it to her. And then came the evening when Stuart, after the theatre, brought them not to Erica's home, but to a luxurious mansion in a prestigious area of the city. I'm inviting you to have coffee with me, Oscar replied to her unspoken question. I won't hide it. Yes, I'm hoping for the evening to continue, but it all depends on you. If you don't want to stay, Stuart will take you home. But I'm asking you to look at my bachelor pad. Inside the bachelor pad was a dream home, thought out to the smallest detail. There was no feeling of museum-like or pretentiousness. It really was a home designed for its inhabitants to enjoy life. Erica was particularly thrilled with the fireplace, already lit and filling the house with warmth. After following her gaze, Oscar nodded at the armchair opposite the fireplace. Erica settled in comfortably, stretching her legs towards the fire. Oscar brought coffee, fruits and sweets, sat on the floor covered with a fluffy rug, and carefully took off Erica's shoes. "What are you doing?" she exclaimed. However, he was massaging her feet with a calm demeanour. Erica purred with pleasure. She was filled with true bliss. She wanted Oscar to keep going. Her body, which had not yet known the touch of a man for so long, trembled with hidden desire. "Everything will be as you wish," he said quietly, continuing his activity. "I really want you. You know that. But I'll stop if you say no." "Yes," Erica whispered. Everything that happened afterward surpassed her wildest dreams. Oscar knew how to be both passionate and gentle. "Erica, he whispered softly, looking into her eyes, which glowed with the pleasure she had just experienced. "I'll repeat my proposal. Marry me. You see, we are absolutely perfect for each other." And she replied, "Yes." What followed was like a fairy tale. They could have gotten married the same day, but Erica asked for at least a week to prepare. She didn't want to have a bachelorette party. She knew the girls would envy her, and she wanted that less than anything. She just wanted to gather her thoughts, say goodbye to her old life, visit her parents, and so on. Upon hearing the news, her mother threw up her hands. "My dear, how can this be? He's a gangster. Everyone knows it." "Mum, that's nonsense. If he's rich, does that automatically make him a gangster?" Erica reassured her. Her usually taciturn father asked only, "Will you regret it later?" "I don't know, Dad," Erica honestly admitted. "He does everything for me, protects me like a treasure." "But does he love you?" her father persisted. Erica was silent. They never used that word in their conversations. "What about Chris?" her mother couldn't help but ask. "He doesn't call all right," Erica honestly admitted. The parents looked at each other and sighed. "Okay, dear, you're an adult. You have your head on your shoulders," her father pronounced. "No advice will help except one. Use your head and listen to your heart." Erica returned to the city with mixed feelings. A worm of doubt continued to gnaw at her from the inside, but she dismissed it, deciding it was normal. Everything will be fine. She will become Erica Hurst. Her husband will cherish and pamper her, and as for Chris, what could she do? He was and is gone. It's not the first time she's been dumped, after all. The day of the celebration arrived so quickly that she barely had time to catch her breath. Just yesterday she was studying and taking exams, and now she stood in front of the mirror, wearing a veil and a white dress, looking like a fairy tale princess. She looked in the mirror, but saw her future life, beautiful and secure. Oscar loves her, and he's not that much older, and he looks impressive. Messages and phone calls poured in like a horn of plenty. Erica had no idea she had so many friends and acquaintances who wanted to congratulate her on the celebration. When she was a poor and modest Erica, she had far fewer friends. Erica had already decided to turn off her mobile phone when her gaze unexpectedly fell on a message that had appeared on the screen. It was Chris's mother. Her heart fluttered like a caught bird, and the girl read, "Erica, Chris is wounded. He's dying." Without knowing what she was doing, Erica dialed the number. "What happened? Where is he?" The woman sobbed as she spoke, saying that her son had stayed in the military after his service, wanting to earn money for an apartment and provide a carefree life for him and Erica. He was sent to a hotspot. There was no way to call or write from there, and the young man didn't want to worry his family. And now something terrible had happened. Erica stared at the silent phone for a long time, and then, without realizing what she was doing, she took off her wedding dress, threw her veil on the chair, changed into jeans and a sweater, grabbed her purse and headed for the exit. Everything that followed felt like a dream. She realized she was already on the train. She didn't even remember buying the ticket or what she had said. Her phone was left there, next to the dress she never got to try on. With them, she was leaving her whole past life, already realizing that there would be no turning back. She walked quickly down the white hospital corridor, looking at the room numbers. "It seems to be here. Please, God, just let him be alive, and then I'll manage to pull him through, even if it's from the other world. I'll be with him day and night, and then he will recover. He will definitely recover, and everything will be fine. He will understand and forgive." Seeing the correct room number, Erica opened the door of the ward and immediately closed it, seeing a scene of the most intimate nature. A slender nurse in a white dress was leaning over the hospital bed. She looked with her back to Erica, but she understood that the nurse was kissing a man lying on the bed. Erica looked at the room number again. Everything was correct. Hesitating, the girl looked into the ward again and said, "Excuse me, I was told that Chris Cumming is in this ward?" The nurse straightened up sharply. passed by her with an independent look, and a surprised voice came from the bed. "Erica, how did you get here?" "Are you alive? Your mother called and said you were dying." "It's a mistake. Another fighter, namesake, received a serious wound. I also caught a bullet, but got off easily. I'm recovering." "I see that you are recovering." Chris turned away, was silent, and then attacked. "Are you talking about Marina? Do you condemn her?" "Not you. But she took care of me like a child. Maybe that's why I got better. And what did you think, that men live like monks in the war? We walk on the edge every day, while you are enjoying life on the civilian side. You yourself, I'm certain, are not a saint. Why do you hide your eyes? Did you cheat on me?" Erica looked at him with all her eyes. This was some other Chris, completely unfamiliar, angry, unpleasant. "Yes," she answered, "I cheated on you. I was even going to get married today." And then she turned and ran away, swallowing the tears of hurt and disappointment. The door slammed behind her, cutting off another possibility of her fate that had not come true. Erica returned to the station, sat on a bench, and looked straight ahead. There was not a single thought in her head. She couldn't go back. She was painfully ashamed of Oscar, whom she left on her wedding day just like that, without explanation. To her parents? They would accept her, of course, but they would regret and torment her with moralizing. And she was already sick to the extreme. "I'm sorry. Give me some money to buy bread, please," a quiet voice said nearby. A hunched elderly woman looked at her. She was certainly worse off than Erica was. Erica was young, healthy, and could somehow work out her life. But who would help this poor elderly woman? Without looking, Erica put her hand in her purse and took out several bills, handing them to the elderly woman. "Take it, Grandma, bless you." "Thank you, dear, and may God give you health and a good, affectionate husband," the elderly woman said. Unable to hold back, Erica burst into tears. The beggar, surprised, sat down next to her and began to stroke the crying girl's head, saying something comforting. "Cry, cry, baby. Tears cleanse the heart. You won't believe me now, but your happiness is not far away. It will find you, don't doubt it. Fate will give you a sign soon. Don't miss it." Erica cried, not listening to the exhorting words. She didn't even notice that the old woman had got up and limped away, and when she raised her head, her trace had disappeared. "Erica, how did you get here?" A voice came from above her ear. The girl looked up and gasped. "Grace? What are you doing here?" "I came to visit my aunt," the former classmate laughed. They only had studied together for a year before the cheerful and mischievous girl, who came from the north for education, decided that studying for years was not for her, and quickly got married. They hadn't seen each other since, but Erica recognized her immediately. She was still lively and cheerful, but she had blossomed, becoming more beautiful, and clearly did not need financial assistance. Grace was examining Erica with the same attentive gaze. "Did you cry? Tell me what happened," Grace declared in a tone that brooked no objection. It was clear that the girl was used to giving orders. After a couple of seconds of hesitation, Erica decided to tell her former classmate her whole story. "Well, you're something," Grace whistled, "like straight out of a movie. I thought that only happened in books. Maybe you'll go back to your Oscar and he'll forgive you." "It's shameful," Erica admitted, then remembering how cold Oscar's eyes sometimes became, how determined he was in his actions, she bowed her head. "No, he won't forgive me." "So you're ready to go anywhere?" Grace squinted at her. "Well, there's no work in your field for me." "But will you work as a maid? My husband and I have our own hotel. Things are going well. I'll provide you with housing and restaurant meals. Decide, are you coming?" "I'm coming," Erica said. The events were unfolding with the speed of released springs, and now she really didn't care where to go. All she wanted was to get away from two men who, as she thought, loved her and whom she loved. Erica, who grew up in a conventional town and then plunged headlong into the chaos and crazy rhythm of the metropolis, had already forgotten how friendly relationships between people can be and how slow-paced life can be. Of course, she was distressed about how she would be welcomed and how she would settle in a new place. But it turned out that all her fears were unfounded. Diego, Grace's husband, a huge, ruddy man with a rumbling bass and thunderous laughter, hugged the girl from the doorstep and said, "Welcome to us. Nobody will hurt you here, and if anybody looks at you askance, just tell me, and I'll sort it out right away." Erica quickly got to know the hotel staff, and her duties turned out to be straightforward, and the guests were reasonable. And she immediately liked Grace's mother, Mrs. Almario, who lived with them, though in a separate wing. The woman, who adored books, immediately began to invite Erica to tea, to chat about novelties, discuss movies, and generally talk about life. Gradually, the emotional storms subsided, and Erica notified her parents from her new phone that everything was fine, strictly prohibiting anyone from giving out her number. With Diego's help, who used his connections, she was even able to take an academic leave from the college, which made her happy. After all, she still hoped to finish her education, but later. And now she just had to live, study, smile, and not constantly reproach herself. Moreover, Grace and Diego didn't leave her alone, invited her out, took on the picnics to the neighbouring city and to the shops. After a month, Erica felt that she had known all these wonderful people for a long time, and the work did not burden her, but even pleased her. "We'll find you another groom, Erica," Diego joked, and Grace rebuked him. "What are you bothering her for? Let the girl forget about how she ran away from the wedding and lost 2 men at once." Erica was not offended, realizing that Grace's husband secretly cared for her. Diego's character was simple. It was hard for a woman to be alone, so she had to help her find a worthy man. To the guests, mostly men sent to the wilderness on business, the pretty blue-eyed maid was very likable. However, they did not bother her, as if she carried some trace of past offence or disappointment prohibiting closeness. "Diego, I haven't met anyone like you yet, and I don't need anyone worse," Erica said with a smile. Diego straightened his already broad shoulders and triumphantly looked at his wife. "You see, Grace, what kind of husband you got." Grace, barely reaching Diego's shoulder, stood on tiptoe, messed up his hair and kissed him loudly. Watching them, Erica envied them a little. They seemed such a good match, living happily and simply, unlike her. But it's true that they say you shouldn't complain about fate. Everything can become much worse. Erica understood this on one not very beautiful morning when she suddenly felt a sharp attack of nausea. "Why is that?" she asked herself, and then a sudden thought made her gasp, clenching her mouth with her palm. "It can't be! Or can it?" She flared up, remembering the details of the one evening she spent in bed with Oscar. However, the next morning, everything repeated itself. Seeing the pale Erica, Grace took her aside and asked bluntly, "What's going on?" Erica did not hide her fears, and Grace loudly whistled. "You're really lucky. Go to the clinic, let them check you out." Soon the doctor finally confirmed Erica's worst fear. She was pregnant. "Do you want to get rid of it, or do you want to give birth?" the doctor asked bluntly. Grace, who had stuck with Erica and even went to the doctor's office, answered for her shocked friend. "Of course, we will give birth. Write her something so she won't feel nauseous, various vitamins, and then we'll figure out how we'll raise the baby. By the way, my mother helped me take care of my 2 boys. Now she's always talking about the 3rd. Come on, Erica, let's make her happy with your baby, or she'll make us all mad with her boiling energy," offered Grace, who deep down was afraid that Erica would decide otherwise. Grace already had 2 boys, who looked alike and like their father, now tall, strong, moderately mischievous, and very friendly. The parents were incredibly proud of them, and everyone who worked at the hotel spoiled them at every opportunity. Erica often admired the boys, thinking that one day her son and daughter would also run around happily, stick their curious noses everywhere, and not be afraid of anything. Now the life of the little one she had imagined so many times was at stake, and Erica decided, following Grace, "I will give birth. I will definitely give birth." It seems that after the difficult decision was made, fate took pity on Erica. The toxemia stopped as suddenly as it had started. The hotel staff, apparently with the intervention of the owner, surrounded Erica with care. She was not allowed to lift anything heavy, rest time increased, and the number of vegetables and fruits in her diet sharply increased. They encouraged her and jokingly teased her about her gradually rounding belly. Even the birth went smoothly without any complications. Erica smiled at her baby and whispered, "Hello, Billy. Don't be afraid. Mum will always be with you. And together we will cope with everything. Right? Your happiness." Erica smiled in the ward, feeling an incredible inner calm and confidence that everything would be all right. At home she was greeted with joy and celebration. She had long since moved into one of the cozy cottages Diego had built over the years through his hard work. Diego had long dreamed of expanding his business and was currently considering an offer to join a large hotel chain as a partner. Erica was not forgotten either. At a family council it was decided that once she had recovered from childbirth, she would take on the role of administrator. Her education and experience qualified her for the job. Days filled with joy and happiness went by. The baby turned out to be calm, ate well, didn't cry too much, and let his mother sleep at night. So, Erica had plenty of time to work for a few hours, welcoming guests whose flow never stopped, regardless of the season. One day, Diego said seriously, "Erica, you bring us luck, no doubt. Things are going so well that I'm afraid to jinx it. Sometimes it just seems like the men are coming to see us just to look into your blue eyes." Erica laughed, but there was some truth in the joke. Men of all ages always looked at her with pleasure. She was invited to dinner more than once. Twice she was offered marriage straight away. She politely declined, citing the need to take care of her son. It wasn't that she had given up on love. No, it was just that the memory of her double loss was still too fresh. She forgave Chris for the fact that he had exchanged her love for the first girl who showed him signs of attention. Becoming a mother changed her from within. She became more sensitive and forgiving. The only person Erica never forgave was herself. She understood how unfairly she had treated Oscar, how much pain she had caused him. If she had her old phone, she would have tried to explain herself, but fate decided otherwise. He still appeared in her dreams, though. The dream where they both rode motorcycles and she hid from the wind behind his broad back was especially frequent, and she always woke up with the smell of a leather jacket and tears on her cheeks. One day, Diego announced, "We should prepare a guest house, heat up the bath, and offer some fancy treats there. Girls, take care of it and I'll meet the guests." "Is an inspector coming?" Grace snickered. "Take it up a notch," Diego joked. "It looks like the owner himself is coming to visit us." "Are they really taking us under their wing?" Grace gasped. "I think so. Otherwise the owner wouldn't have come. All right, girls, make sure everything is top-notch. They'll be here soon." Erica was infected with the couple's joy. The merger had been discussed for a long time, with high hopes and excellent prospects. As she understood from the conversations, the prospective partner already had a well-established hotel business. Now he was interested in remote regions. The bet was placed on ecology and proximity to nature. Tired of the smog and constant rush of city life, urbanites could enjoy a pleasant stay there. And the future partner, according to Diego, turned out to be a decent man. He could have simply crushed them in a competitive struggle and then bought them out for nothing. But no, he called them for a partner and listened to Diego's opinion. So Erica already liked the future partner in absentia, though she didn't bother to find out who this unknown benefactor was. Leaving Billy under Mrs. Almario's care, Erica happily joined the preparations, and when a black car pulled up to the house, escorted by Diego's jeep, she had everything ready. But she herself was not ready for one thing: that Oscar Hurst would get out of the car. Erica was frantically searching for a place to hide, her face flushed and her heart pounding wildly. It couldn't be him, it just couldn't be. But it was him, thinner and lost in thought, but it was definitely him. Erica ran to Mrs. Almario's wing, threw open the doors and rushed towards the bewildered woman. "Mrs. Almario, help me! I need to leave right now!" "What's happened?" Grace's mother stroked her shoulders, trying to calm her down. Through tears, Erica told her what had happened. "Stop immediately! You'll wake Billy!" the usually soft and kind woman ordered, and Erica fell silent. "I believe this is a sign from above," Mrs. Almario declared. "You need to talk. Besides, he needs to know he's a father. You don't have the right to keep this from him." Erica looked at her in disbelief. Mrs. Almario sadly smiled. "Do you think you'll always be able to handle everything on your own? Believe me, loneliness is a curse. I know that well. And it will be bitter for your son to grow up without a father. Ask your heart. Do you have the right to decide for all three of you?" the woman continued. Erica trembled. "What should I do?" she asked plaintively. "Wait until the men are done with their business," Mrs. Almario advised. "The guest won't leave right away. You know Diego won't let him go without a bath and a treat. And then seize the moment and don't hesitate. Otherwise you'll regret it for the rest of your life." They were not allowed to finish their conversation when there was a cautious knock on the door. Erica pleaded with Mrs. Almario with her eyes, so she nodded, indicated that she would handle it herself, and left. Erica listened to the voices sinking into her chair, and then the door opened again, and Stuart walked into the house with a protesting Mrs. Almario. He hadn't changed at all, and the same elusive smile played on his face. "Hello, Erica," he said. "Hello, Stuart," Erica whispered. Then she raised her tearful eyes to him and asked quietly, "Does Oscar know I'm here?" "No," Stuart said, surprising her with his answer, and he turned to a stunned Mrs. Almario. "I know Erica well enough and her ability to slip away. Don't worry. No one wishes her harm. Quite the opposite." "And how?" Erica began, and then fell silent. "Do you want to ask why we're here?" Stuart guessed. "Oscar is closing a deal that's beneficial for both parties. Of course, I had to steer him a little towards searching for a partner, but it's actually an excellent solution. Now you have to decide, and believe me, I won't let my friend's heart be hurt again." Stuart's face became cold and serious. Erica saw him like that for the first time. "So you have two choices," he continued. "If you say that it's all over between you two, and I've been searching for you all this time for nothing, I won't say anything to Oscar and we'll leave. Of course, you'll have to move too, so that you don't accidentally run into each other in the future. I promise to help you with that. If you love him, go and tell him. Otherwise, you'll be the biggest fool in the world, and I've seen many of them." Erica covered her eyes with her hands. How could this be happening? She had already resigned herself to living for her son, and now fate had shuffled the cards again. Stuart had found her. He was worried not about his boss, but about an old friend. He was worried because of her. She could feel that. And then there was crying behind the wall. Stuart raised his eyebrows in surprise and looked at Erica demandingly. "I have to go. Billy woke up," she explained, and went to her son. "Billy? How is that possible? What's going on?" repeated Stuart, puzzled. He didn't know about the child. Closing the door, Erica heard Mrs. Almario's voice. "Sit down already. I have hot tea. I'll tell you what I know." Erica fed her son, rocking him in her arms. Conflicting emotions overwhelmed her. One part of her wanted to hide, while the other mentally flew to Oscar. Once again, fate intervened during events. The phone rang and Diego's cheerful voice ordered, "Erica, come to us. I'll introduce you to a wonderful man." The girl opened the door with such difficulty as if it weighed a whole ton. If it weren't for Stuart walking next to her, she would have surely fainted from excitement. Voices fell silent and several pairs of eyes stared at her. "And this is Erica, our friend and wonderful administrator," Diego began and stuttered at the sight of Oscar slowly rising from the table. Oscar looked at Erica. She had enough strength not to look away. The pause dragged on. "Hey, what's going on?" Diego asked. "Do you know each other?" "They know each other," Stuart replied, "and they need to talk alone right now." Left alone with Oscar, Erica shrank into a lump. What could she say to the man she ruthlessly left and betrayed? Yet she mustered up the courage to exhale one single word. His name. Oscar. He fell silent, and Erica decided to look up. This stern, experienced man who had seen so much in life was crying, tears streaming down his cheeks as he stared at her without looking away. And then they talked, interrupting each other, rushing to tell each other how they had lived all this time and why they only met now. Erica couldn't believe her ears. He knew why and to whom she ran away on her wedding day, and he took it for granted. He decided he was too old for her and simply wished her happiness. He loved her so much that he let her go. And that was the most incredible thing. She told how she thought Chris was dying and what she had seen at the hospital. She told about how she regretted her own actions 1,000 times and how she decided it was her punishment for betrayal. They talked as if they had been silent for 1,000 years and couldn't cross the line to embrace each other. And then the door opened and hungry Billy cried in the silence. Stuart held him carefully and awkwardly as men do. "Well, Billy, maybe you can explain to your foolish parents that it's time for them to kiss and start all over again." When Oscar took his son into his arms, it seemed to Erica that the house became brighter because Oscar's eyes shone with genuine happiness. They had their wedding right there. Luckily, there were excellent restaurants and a banquet hall nearby. Erica looked simply stunning. She sat next to her husband and felt good and calm, like she did on the motorcycle, behind the reliable, mighty back of her beloved man. Orla was on the bus to an important meeting and was very nervous. Everything had gone wrong since the morning. The director did not approve of the staff's absences, and she had a hard time getting permission to leave work earlier, promising to work 2 shifts the next day. A serious snowstorm raged outside, causing terrific traffic jams and disruptions. The parents of her fiancé Dwight were waiting for her at an expensive restaurant for a meeting. She had to travel to the other side of the city and was worried that she wouldn't make it on time. Dwight's family was not ordinary, as they were wealthy businessmen. Dwight's father owned a large corporation, and his character, according to rumors, was terrible, while his mother was known as a social lioness. The poor girl had nothing decent to wear. She begged her friend for a beautiful evening dress and put on a light coat over it. She spent a long time rubbing her old autumn boots with cream to make them look better. There were few people on the bus in such weather, but looking out the window at the heavy snowfall, the passengers were happy to be in the warm salon rather than outside. An elderly man got on at one of the stops. He was shivering from the cold and shaking the snow off his hat and sleeves. Then he reached into his pocket of his old jacket and started rummaging around for change. He turned the pocket inside out, and there was a hole through it. He had no money. Apparently he had dropped it. The old man became embarrassed, lowered his eyes, and quietly went to the very back seat, hoping the bus conductor wouldn't notice him. But no such luck. The woman had been working on the bus for a long time and clearly identified fare evaders. She watched the elderly passenger closely, and as soon as he sat down, she immediately ran over to him and asked loudly, "Sir, pay for your fare? Do you have a card or cash?" The old man blushed and mumbled, "Sorry, please, I dropped my money. There's a hole in my pocket. Look, please." Can I ride 5 stops for free, please? And it's snowing so heavily outside. I won't be able to walk. There's knee-deep snow." The bus conductor seemed to have been waiting for just this opportunity to vent all her negativity on the poor old man. She immediately started shouting at the entire salon, "Here we go again. I hear these stories every day. Either you pay or get off at the next stop. What nerve! Don't you have any shame? You're already at an age, and yet you're still doing this. Everyone tries to ride without a ticket." Suddenly, Orla felt sorry for the poor old man and couldn't stand it any longer. She approached the conductor and said, "Don't shout. Don't kick him off. I'll pay for his ticket. Here, take it. Let him ride. It's cold and snowy outside. How's he supposed to walk?" The bus conductor punched his ticket, grumbling as she handed it to Ola. Oh, what a benefactor! Ola sat next to the old man, and he began to thank her with tears in his eyes. "Thank you so much. My name is Greg Savito. I didn't expect such a blizzard to start. It was sunny and quiet in the morning. And I'll pay you back the money. Don't worry. I have money at home. I don't know how I didn't notice the hole in my pocket. Oh, my heart started aching now. I guess because of stress." Orla immediately took out a tablet from her purse, which she always carried with her, as her mother had heart problems, and gave it to the old man. "Here, put it under your tongue and let it dissolve. It will calm you down. My mother constantly has it. You know what? I'll ride with you and see you home, just in case. It's such a blizzard outside. I'm afraid you won't make it home alone. By the way, my name is Orla." The old man looked at her gratefully and began to dissolve the tablet. "Thank you so much. You hardly ever meet such kind people like you, Orla. Many people don't care about their own elderly relatives, let alone strangers. Please forgive me, I've imposed it on you. You probably have your own things to do. It's even embarrassing, really." Orla waved her hand. "Well, actually, yes, I'm going to an important meeting. They're already waiting for me, but never mind. A person's life is more important. I hope they'll understand me." The girl had passed her stop and got off with Mr. Savito, helped him get to his apartment, and only then calmed down and ran back to the stop to finally get to the restaurant. The phone still wasn't working, and the connection was still missing in such nasty weather. As a result, Orla was an hour late, and she entered the restaurant all wet, red with snow, which mercilessly blew in her face. Her makeup was smudged and runny, and there was no trace of the beautiful hairstyle. She started apologizing. "Good afternoon. Excuse me, please, for being late. Unforeseen circumstances. I had to help the elderly man to get home safely due to the snowstorm. He wouldn't have made it on his own. I'll be right back. Quickly clean up and return to you." Dwight's mother looked displeased at her watch and criticized the tardiness. "It's inappropriate to be an hour late, especially when respected people are waiting for you. Who knows what might happen next?" It was clear to her that the girl was not well versed in good manners. Dwight ran after Orla and started scolding her in the foyer for being late. "Orla, what are you doing? My parents are furious. We agreed to meet at 3. Where have you been? It's really inappropriate to be so late, and it's considered bad manners in polite society." Orla tried to justify herself. "I didn't do it on purpose. You are lucky you can get in your SUV and have a ride. Warm, beautiful and comfortable. And I had to take the bus across the entire city. I even helped an old man. I couldn't just leave him in trouble. My mother has heart problems too, and I know how it can be dangerous." Dwight waved his hand and responded, "You're always like Mother Teresa. Someone else would have helped. All right, hurry up, please." Dwight's mother, Laura, was not thrilled with her son's choice. She did not approve of the fact that her son was involved with a simple waitress, living in a shabby apartment with his sick mother. Dwight's father was a resourceful man who made a quick and dizzying career rise 2 years ago, becoming a respected and wealthy businessman. Despite many city dwellers being unaware of where he got such a huge starting capital, his success was undeniable. Mr. Chester had long ago picked out a profitable party for his son, the daughter of the head of their business partner, Julia. He dreamed of merging companies, and marrying his son would be the best solution. However, Orla appeared out of nowhere and messed up all the plans. This is why Dwight's parents wanted to get rid of her so badly. That's why they arranged this meeting on their own initiative, specially in an expensive restaurant, and ordered the most exotic dishes: oysters, lobsters, and Japanese fish. They were sure that this country girl had no idea what it was called or how to eat it. They hoped she would be humiliated in front of everyone, and their son would leave her himself. And everything turned out as they had planned. Orla sat there, red as a boiled lobster, and only drank water. She didn't know how to use tongs and skewers to cut the lobster, and she didn't know what to do with oysters either, as they didn't serve such delicacies at their cafe. In addition to Dwight's parents, family friends, equally pretentious snobs, sat at the table. Against their background, Orla looked like a poor orphan. Dwight, for some reason, was sitting across from her, not next to her. Suddenly, Lara sarcastically asked, "Orla, baby, why aren't you trying anything? The oysters are fresh and I highly recommend them. Or do you not like seafood?" The girl blushed even more and responded, "Well, I don't like it much. And I've eaten at home." The future mother-in-law continued to mock her. "Well, as you wish. Tell me, Orla, where are you studying? What university? What faculty? Or are you already working in your profession? Because my son is silent and I can't get a word out of him, and we're interested in knowing with whom Dwight plans to tie his fate." Orla blushed again and explained, "It just so happened that my mother is very sick. She has heart problems. She needs an expensive operation to replace the valve. So, after finishing school, I had to work to help her. I'm currently working as a waitress in a cafe, and I'm also a courier on weekends. But as soon as my mother gets better, I plan to go to college, to the pedagogical faculty, because I love children very much." One of the guests interrupted the conversation and sarcastically remarked, "And what will you teach them? To wash dishes and set the table? Bravo! Well, Dwight, I'm really shocked by you." Laura looked significantly at her son and said, "Sonny, are you sure you didn't mix anything up? Did you invite a decent bride or the first waitress you saw?" Then the woman smirked at Orla and said in a sweet voice, "Sweetie, if you just want money, you can work at my house as a maid. That would suit you better than being our son's bride, because I see you don't have any other talents." Orla wanted to disappear through the floor and looked at the groom with hope. She expected him to stand up for her and tell his shameless mother that he loved her and that she was not a maid but his bride. But no, Dwight was sitting silently like a mouse. He was angry at Orla. He was embarrassed that she really acted like a commoner. He was ashamed in front of his father's influential acquaintances. Now everybody would start to gossip that Dwight Chester got involved with a waitress. His overbearing mother answered for him, "You know, Orla, we will not keep you. Dwight will stay with his family and you will go. You found your way here, then you will get back on your own. All the best to you." Orla couldn't tolerate such mockery anymore and ran away from the table in tears. She hastily put on her coat and rushed out of that hateful place like a madwoman. Inside, she was boiling with hurt and anger. How could they do this? Why did they insult me? And Dwight, he didn't even say a word in her defense. Wimp. Mama's boy. Let them all go with their family. Orla, crying, barely made it home and had to trudge through huge snowdrifts half the way since the buses were no longer running and the roads were not cleared. The snow was everywhere, inside her coat and boots. It melted and flowed in streams over her body, but the girl didn't even notice it. She entered the apartment all wet and frozen like an icicle, and immediately threw herself into her mother's embrace. "Mum, I feel so bad. Can you imagine? They all looked at me as if I were nobody or dust, and frankly, they made fun of me for being a waitress. Dwight's mother called me a maid, saying it was the most appropriate place for me in their family. And Dwight didn't support me. He didn't even take me home. He sat there silently, as if I weren't his bride, but a punching bag. Why did they invite me there at all? Did they want to shame me and make me a laughingstock? And they succeeded. I'll never forgive him for this disgrace. Let him go to hell. It's better to be a waiter than to let others walk all over you." Helen stroked her daughter's head, comforting her as best she could. "Don't cry, my good girl. It breaks my heart to see you like this. God will judge them all. And about the groom, I've been telling you for a long time that nothing will come of it. You're not a match for him. It didn't cost him anything to bring you and take you back home, so you wouldn't freeze. But he didn't do it. He didn't stand up for you or take care of you. How can you build a future with him? If a man genuinely loves a woman, he'll go to great lengths for her and won't let anyone hurt her. Your dad was just like that. It's a pity he died so young. He didn't have time to get you back on your feet. I trusted him completely. And it's not about money, it's about how he treated me. And if your groom treats you so badly now, what will happen in the future? Let's have a cup of tea with mint and strawberry jam. You're so cold, you might get sick. Let's calm down." Orla hugged her mother and whispered, "Thank you, Mummy, for your support, warmth and tenderness. It means so much to me. Oh, by the way, I didn't tell you how I met Mr. Servito, the elderly man on the bus. The bus conductor wanted to throw him out into the cold because he lost his money. I felt so sorry for him. He was clean, neat, but just old. So I paid for him. And then he felt sick, so I escorted him home. That's why I was late for that damn restaurant. If I knew they would disgrace me like that, I wouldn't have come at all." Helen praised her daughter, saying, "You did everything right. Don't blame yourself. You always have to try to help people. Anything can happen in life. You're such a smart girl, and I'm proud of you. If it weren't for my illness, you would have already studied to be a teacher. And you did so well in school. Everything will be all right for you, my good girl." After that terribly snowy evening, Orla fell ill and took a week off work with a cold. All this time, offended, she did not pick up the phone when Dwight called, and the relationship between them almost came to naught. One day, after working 2 shifts, Orla took her mother to the doctor, where she ran into the same old man from the bus. They hugged like old friends. "What a coincidence! How are you, Mr. Servito? Are you sick too? I brought my mother to the doctor. Mum, meet Greg Servito, the passenger I told you about. And this is my mother, Helen." Mr. Servito sighed heavily and said, "I never told you then. I went to my son's grave that day. It was his birthday. I should visit him, especially since the weather was calm in the morning, and nothing foreshadowed such a snowstorm." Paul was engaged in the sale of real estate, and he was very successful. 2 years ago, he was murdered. Paul went to important negotiations in another city. His body was found in a strip of forest, completely disfigured and burned beyond recognition. When I was told about it, I immediately had a hypertensive crisis, and I don't remember anything good about it. At the identification, I was in a fog. I only saw my son's watch and chain. His documents lay next to the car. I don't know how or why I'm still alive. The only consolation I have is going to my son's grave and talking to him there. It seems to ease the pain a little. Unfortunately, they never found those rascals. The place was deserted, there were no witnesses, and all the leads were dead ends. My son was the meaning of life for me, the dearest person. 2 years have passed, and I still can't come to terms with it. I keep his things, I don't touch anything in the room, and I sit there for a long time. Orla was shocked, as was her mother. They felt sorry for this elderly man who had lost his only support in life, his beloved son, and was now barely making ends meet alone. Meanwhile, Mr. Savito suggested, "Come visit me sometimes. Orla, just to chat. I'll be delighted." The girl went to visit the elderly man the next weekend. Even though she and her mother didn't live richly themselves, she ran to the store and bought cookies, some groceries, wanting to please Mr. Savito, who was clearly saving on everything. The elderly man was happy to have a guest and started bustling around, putting the kettle on the stove and thanking her. "Orla, how glad I am that you came. Why did you spend so much? I'm even embarrassed, honestly." The girl objected. "Everything will be useful, Mr. Savito. Please, eat and enjoy. I understand that you can't live well on one pension." "Don't worry, I have everything I need," the old man replied. "You know, after my son's death, a good amount of money comes to my pension card every month. It says it's from a charity fund. It really helps. It's hard to believe that such a thing is possible in our time. Sit down and we'll have tea now. I even have a real honey. A friend of mine who keeps bees treated me out of kindness." Orla spoke with Mr. Savito for a long time, and he showed her a photo of his deceased son. The girl looked at this pleasant, smiling young man, and she couldn't believe that he was no longer alive. He was only 30 years old. The old man discussed his life, and it was clear that he missed communication a lot. "By the way, I am a teacher by education. I taught mathematics at the university all my life. Many people still remember and know me. And my wife Tammy worked as a saleswoman. She had a talent for trading. We met when I came to buy vegetables and fish. She advertised everything to me so much that I left with a huge bag. I immediately liked Tammy. She was like Thumbelina, small with a laugh like a bell and mischievous curls on her head. We lived soul to soul, and we hardly ever quarrelled. But God didn't give us children for a long time. At first we were worried and we ran to the doctors. But what was medicine like then? They just shrugged their shoulders. Then, unexpectedly, when we turned 45, Tammy got pregnant. She couldn't believe it at all. She thought it was menopause. All the doctors, without exception, advised against giving birth. My wife had serious problems with her heart, blood vessels and vision. But Tammy insisted, and no matter what, she decided that if God gave her a baby, she had to give birth. After all, she couldn't give up her cherished dream of becoming a mother. The pregnancy was difficult, and she barely made it. Unfortunately, all of this only worsened her chronic diseases. Our son was growing up, and my wife and I cherished him with all our hearts. But my wife was getting sicker and sicker. She often stayed in the hospital, and her condition kept deteriorating. And when our son Paul turned 10, my beloved Tammy passed away. I grieved and suffered, and my son missed his mother. It felt like someone had cut off my arm or leg. That's how close my wife and I had become. Right before she passed away, in the ICU, my wife told me, "You know, Greg, if everything could be changed, I wouldn't change a thing. Paul is the greatest joy of my life, and I have no regrets. Remember that. Take care of our son, and do everything to make him happy. I love both of you so much." After she said those words, I cried all night. I kept thinking, why did this happen? Some people have 5 children, and nothing happens to them. And here we are with just 1 child, and her health was shaken a lot. My son and I started living alone. I noticed that Paul had a commercial streak in him, which had manifested in small things since childhood. It was probably something he inherited from his mother. I decided to send him to study business and management, and it paid off. He graduated from the university with honours and started developing his business. He began with retail, opening a couple of booths, and then slowly started expanding. He began to deal with real estate, buying broken-down apartments, fixing them up, and then selling them at a good price or renting them out. With time, he even opened an agency. He didn't waste money on trivial things and invested everything in his business. And 2 years ago, he was about to meet with one of his partners for a very risky deal. He was going to sell his entire business and invest in I tried to dissuade him and asked him to think it through, but he didn't listen to me. And after my son's death, his business also fell into the wrong hands, and I was left with nothing. Are you planning to get married? Such a beautiful and kind girl can't be alone for long. Do you have a fiancé? Orla became sad. Everything fell apart with me and my fiancé. We're from different worlds. I'm just a waitress, and he's the son of a businessman. We met by chance when he dropped his wallet at the bank and I returned it to him. He was very surprised, saying that such things don't happen in our time. I immediately liked Dwight. He was my first love, and he wasn't a snob. We were comfortable together. But his parents apparently thought differently. They held a meeting for me, specifically in a fancy restaurant, just to shame me. And Dwight just sat there like a statue and said nothing. I can't forgive him for that. And that's how we fell out. Am I to blame that my mum is sick and needs surgery? And where am I supposed to get the money? I had to work instead of going to college, even though I dreamed of becoming a teacher. But I believe that I'll save enough money to go to college, even if it's a couple of years later. Mr. Savito just raised his hands. You're such a wise and intelligent girl, Orla, beyond your years. You're doing everything right. And don't worry about your fiancé. That just means he didn't really love you. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let you go. They talked for a long time, and when Orla was about to leave, she suggested they visit the grave together the next time. The elderly man was delighted. Of course I'll be glad. Thank you for everything, Orla. I was so lonely after my son's death, but now I've met you and your mother, and it's easier on my soul. It's nice to have someone to talk to. The following weekend, Orla and Mr. Savito went together to Paul's grave, just as they had planned. The cemetery was deserted, especially in winter. The silence was eerie, and the only sound was the snow crunching under their feet. And suddenly, from a distance, they saw a tall man standing near Paul's grave. He had his hands in his jacket pockets, and he was wearing a hood. Mr. Savito began to move faster. Something subtly familiar seemed to him in the figure of that man. As he got closer, he asked, "Hello, who are you? Did you know my son? Tell me, I beg you." The man threw back his hood sharply, revealing a deep scar on his cheek. It was Paul himself, alive and unharmed. Mr. Savito could only whisper, "Oh my God, my son, I can't believe my eyes, you... But how?" And the elderly man fell unconscious right into the snow. Orla and Paul rushed to help the elderly man. They rubbed snow on his cheeks and unbuttoned his jacket collar. Thankfully, Mr. Savito began to come to his senses. Seeing his son, he crossed himself and cautiously touching his hand, exclaimed, "You're really alive. Paul, my son. But then, who has been lying here for 2 years? Whom did I mourn? Whom did I bury? How did this happen? Where have you been all this time?" The man hugged his father, held him close, and stood there for a long time. Tears flowed down his cheeks as he whispered, "Forgive me, Dad. I couldn't let you know about me earlier, no matter how hard I tried. But I missed you so much. Let's go home. We'll talk about everything there. It's a very long story." Orla felt uncomfortable and thought it was a family matter. "Well then, I'll go. You probably need to be alone together. I'm not needed here." But Paul stopped her. "No, Orla, you should be here. And soon you'll understand why. Don't be surprised. I know your name. I've been following my father's life from afar. What I'm going to tell you concerns you directly." The girl wondered how the lives of complete strangers could concern her, and Paul began his long and convoluted story. Remember, Dad, on that fateful day, I went to important negotiations. I was planning to have a new partner. At the gas station, one guy, slim and quiet-looking, asked me for anyway. For some reason, he sat behind me. I told him, "What are you doing? It's uncomfortable back there. Sit in the front." But he only waved his hand and said, "I want to take a nap. I haven't slept all night." On the way, we were passing a grove, and my companion, Igor, asked to stop. His stomach was cramping and he couldn't bear it. So I turned off the road, drove into the woods a little and turned off the engine. And then that scoundrel attacked me from behind with a rope. I still have a scar from that. At first I struggled, but then the light went out. That's it, I don't remember anything else. I woke up a couple of hours later on the wet ground. Blood was pouring from a wound on my side, all beaten up. And moreover, a bunch of pine brush was on me. He buried me there, alive. I thought I was dead, and such anger came over me. No, I thought, I won't die for anything until I find out who did this to me. I started to get out of there somehow, crawling, not knowing where, all night through excruciating pain. I lost consciousness several times, then came to and crawled again. In the morning, a big dog ran up to me and started to howl strangely. I thought for sure that my end had come now. I closed my eyes, lay there afraid to move, and prayed, "Lord, help me." And then the gamekeeper ran up to me on a dog's howl, threw me over his shoulder and carried me to his hut. I begged him, "Don't take me to the hospital. They'll find me there and finish me off. If I die, bury me in the woods, please." And I lost consciousness again. I only woke up a couple of days later. The wounds were severe. The man took care of me for a long time. He gave me antibiotic shots, made me drink herbal infusions, and made all kinds of compresses. I owe him so much. So 6 months went by. I was so weak that I almost didn't walk. I just lay there, and when I got better, I quietly returned to the city. I started to help you because I had money in a secret place. I was always thrifty, saving up, and it was helpful. And here's what I found out. It turns out that the same guy who sat next to me in the car then, Igor, was a hired hitman. They paid him a lot of money to get rid of me. He thought he had done away with me and left me there in the woods. But the guy was very greedy for money, so he took everything from me, down to the last thread, and put on my watch, my gold chain, my leather jacket, and of course, he took my wallet with money. And he decided to transfer the car to another place, farther away to cover his tracks. But he didn't count on one thing. His customer himself was following us. He wanted to make sure the job was done, and also to get rid of the performer, so as not to pay him, and so that there were no extra eyes and ears. Orla couldn't resist and asked, "So who was the customer? What kind of monster would do something like this? I just can't wrap my head around it." Paul raised his finger and replied, "The customer, Orla, was Michael Chester. He was supposed to be my new partner, but he tried to kill me, took over my business and assets, and lived like a king. I did all the research." The girl even paled and said, "It can't be. He's Dwight's father. Are you sure about this, Paul? The Chesters boast about having a model family and being businessmen from high society. They humiliated me. They said I'm not on their level. Did Mr. Chester really resort to murder?" Paul sadly smiled and said, "He isn't a respectable businessman at all. I didn't know about it at the time, but he offered me an attractive project to work on together, and I fell for it. I was taken out, and he took it all for himself. Then he went up very fast with my money. I gathered all this information bit by bit, and I already have a whole folder of evidence. All that's left is to dramatically come back to life and force this scoundrel to confess, and then go to the police with it." Mr. Savito just shook his head and said, "What a terrible man with a black soul. How can one live peacefully knowing that he's involved in the deaths of 2 people? You're right, son. We can't leave it like this. He must be punished for all his actions. I know how, suddenly said Orla. I'll go straight to his office and say that I have an important conversation to have about me and his son. And then I'll hint that I saw Paul alive and well, and I know everything. And I'll turn on the recorder and see his reaction. After that, we'll go to the police. Mr. Servito waved his arms and said, No, Orla, don't do it. Please don't get involved in this terrible story. It's very risky. You could be in danger, as such a type won't stop at anything. But the girl replied sharply, These people offended me for no reason. They made fun of me, and my fiancé even turned away. So I can't stand by and do nothing. I want to look into his eyes. Orla, said Paul, thank you for your involvement. You're a very good, kind and open-hearted girl, but I can't let you take any risks. I'm categorically against this reckless idea. I haven't revealed myself for so long for nothing. I've been gathering evidence, so even without Michael's confession, I still have enough evidence, and the scoundrel will get what he deserves. If the police start dragging their feet, I'll go to the prosecutor's office. I won't rest until Michael Chester is behind bars, and I restore my honest name and get my capital back. I earned it all with my own sweat. Thank you very much for helping my father back then, for supporting him. We'll still be friends, but I'll deal with everything first. Paul took on the case with great enthusiasm. He was very lucky that this difficult and convoluted case fell into the hands of an experienced investigator. He didn't take bribes and did his job conscientiously. He was a very thorough and persistent police officer. He insisted on a confrontation between Paul and Michael because the businessman denied his involvement in the story. When Paul walked into the investigator's office, Michael's face changed beyond recognition, as if he didn't believe until the very end that Paul had really survived. He saw with his own eyes how Igor killed him with a knife. Paul smirked wickedly and said, Well, hello there, dear partner. Didn't expect this turn of events. I thought you had killed me, and it was all over. Did you enjoy your life with my money? Now justice needs to be served. Michael Chester felt as if his mind had become clouded. He crossed himself and whispered, This can't be. Be gone, evil spirit, you're dead. I saw your body. You won't be able to prove anything. It's all nonsense. Paul smiled even wider. You're not all-powerful. My people will testify in court and confirm that you illegally appropriated the business. And the hunter who found me in the woods is already giving testimony. Why did you need all this? Was it all just for money? Michael suddenly grinned. You won't prove anything. I won't sign anything. My lawyers will still release me. Then followed long trials and investigations. In court, the gamekeeper and his wife gave testimony, as did a few loyal employees who did not sell out to the new owner and knew about his dark deeds. The court hearings lasted several months. The meticulous investigator, like a bulldog, clung to Michael Chester and dug up many interesting facts in addition to this bloody case. In total, Michael Chester was sentenced to 15 years with the confiscation of all his property and stolen business, which was rightfully returned to Paul. Mr. Servito cheered up after his son returned alive. He even looked a little younger. Life had meaning again. Orla continued to work diligently, collecting all the money for the operation. Her mother's condition worsened, and she was admitted to the cardiology department. Time was working against her, and a quarter of the amount had not yet been accumulated. The girl was already on the verge of despair. She was thin, sleep-deprived, and torn between work and visiting her mother in the hospital, trying to cheer her up. One day she was just finishing her shift at the cafe when she unexpectedly received a call from the hospital. The girl's heart sank and seemed to stop altogether. The thought raced through her head, Is it all over? But the nurse briskly told her, Orla, your mother's operation has been fully paid for and approved. We are preparing her for tomorrow. Could you come by to sign the documents? Orla could not believe what she heard. How? Paid for by whom? It's a huge amount of money, isn't it? The nurse replied incredulously, I thought you knew. The man did not introduce himself. He preferred anonymity. But in any case, this is wonderful and very timely. There is no more time left. The condition is critical. The girl almost shouted, I'm already on my way. Thank you so much for the news. Orla was riding on a bus wondering who this magician could be. Dwight definitely could not. And then it dawned on her. Paul, it's definitely him. There's no one else, is there? The girl dialed his number with trembling hands and almost shouted, Paul, my dear, you're my saviour. Thank you. I knew it was you who paid for my mother's operation. No one else is capable of that. I'm forever in your debt now, and I'll give you everything I have. I have some of the money, and the rest I'll pay off in installments. The man interrupted her, saying, Don't even think about it. Your money will still be helpful for your mother's rehabilitation. You don't owe me anything. This is from the bottom of my heart. I wish your mother a speedy recovery. After all, you also helped my father and supported him in a difficult moment without thinking about yourself. The operation was successful and Helen began to recover. Orla took time off work and spent all her time at her mother's bedside, helping her recover faster and supporting her. Paul was also there, not leaving the girl. They became very close, talked a lot and became friends, although Paul more and more caught himself thinking that he really liked this sweet, kind and responsive girl. When she looked at him with her huge green eyes, with big fluffy eyelashes, something turned over in his soul, and it became so warm and good. He wanted to be by her side, to protect and take care of Orla, and not to part with her for a moment. Something unimaginable was happening to the girl too. She often looked in the mirror, grooming herself, wanting to become prettier, to please Paul. The 10-year difference between them was not felt at all. She did not even notice the scar on his face. For Orla, Paul was like a knight, like the ideal man. Paul immersed himself in business. He needed to make up for all that was missed in 2 years. But the more he worked hard, the more he caught himself thinking that it did not bring him the drive and satisfaction as it did before the attack. Now, after meeting with Orla, he wanted only one thing, more than anything else in the world: to have a strong family, to have children, so that not only his father, but also a beloved and loving woman would be waiting for him after work. Orla finished her shift at the cafe, exhausted beyond belief. Her legs were still buzzing. Suddenly, Paul entered the cafe with a huge, beautiful bouquet of crimson roses. He approached the stunned girl and handed her a bouquet. "This is for you, Orla. You are as beautiful as these roses. I realized that I couldn't live without you. I want to be there for you and always support you. I love you. Will you marry me and be my wife?" Orla was speechless, tears streaming down her face. She just swallowed them and nodded in agreement. Then Paul approached her, took her hand and gently kissed it, holding her close like the most precious treasure. Visitors and girls from the kitchen applauded. It was so sincere and touching. Orla quickly changed into something more comfortable and got into the car with Paul. She breathed a sigh of relief and enjoyed stretching her tired legs. The man said to her, "You won't work here anymore, starting tomorrow. And no more side jobs. You'll ruin yourself like this. I want you to study, get the profession you dream of, and enjoy life, instead of exhausting yourself. And don't worry about money. My earnings will be enough for everyone. What would you like to study?" Orla looked at Paul with gratitude and said, "I love children very much and would like to become a teacher or educator. It's restful for me to be with kids." "Thank you, Paul. You're like a good wizard who entered my grey life and fulfilled my most cherished and unfulfilled desires. You're the best." The man was very pleased with such warm and sincere words. His heart beat faster, and he said decisively, "Tomorrow we're going on a yacht ride on the river. I promise a sea of positivity. I've come up with such a route, and the nature there is wonderful. You'll definitely like it. Besides, the weather is just perfect. It's a sin to stay at home. Orla spent a long time getting ready, anticipating her meeting with Paul. She wanted to please him. She put on a light, long flowing dress made of weightless fabric, let her long hair down, and put on summer sandals with ankle ties. Paul was waiting for his now fiancée at the pier, at the yacht club. His heart skipped a beat when he saw Orla from afar. She looked like a princess, fresh, beautiful, and impossible to take one's eyes off. The man had prepared everything carefully. The table was already set on board the yacht with champagne, light snacks, and fresh, fragrant strawberries. Pleasant romantic music was coming from the speakers, and the couple set off on a romantic journey. It was unforgettable. Orla felt like she had stepped into a fairy tale. They chatted happily, drank champagne, admired nature, and passionately kissed. And then Paul couldn't resist. He picked up his beloved in his arms and carried her to the cabin. Orla surrendered, and they were caught up in the whirlpool of passion. Paul, unlike her ex-fiancé Dwight, didn't promise her gold mountains or read poetry. He simply did everything that day to make her happy. He proved his love with deeds, and it was worth it. From that day on, the couple never parted for a moment. Orla quit her job at the cafe and entered the college, to the pedagogical department. Finally, her dream came true. She enjoyed going to lectures and taking exams, and soon became one of the best students in her class. Paul decided to buy a house outside the city and move everyone there. There was plenty of space, and everyone had their own room. Mr. Servito and Helen became friends, loved to talk about life together, and even arranged a small garden and flower bed so they wouldn't be bored. They were both happy that their children's destinies had intertwined, and that Orla and Paul were now together. Orla was absolutely happy because Paul became everything to her: husband, father, and friend. He was the wisest, most understanding, and best in her eyes. And for Paul, Orla was like his muse. He couldn't live without her, like without air. As for Dwight, after his family was sent to prison with confiscation, he and his mother ended up on the street without a penny. All their cards and accounts were blocked. And the so-called friends and acquaintances from high society immediately disappeared and wanted nothing to do with the impoverished family with a tarnished reputation. The guy had to urgently find a job to survive. But what was he good at? What was he worth on his own? It turned out that without an influential daddy, he was nobody, zero, and not fit for life at all. They rented a modest apartment on the outskirts with the remaining savings, and now the mother was mercilessly berating Dwight, demanding that he came up with something. The woman was used to luxury and wealth, and now it was unbearable for her to languish impoverished. But nobody took Dwight without experience, and after the story about Paul's resurrection and Dwight's father's involvement in the murder, all doors immediately closed, often without explanation. Dwight often remembered Orla, regretted that he had embarrassed her so much, did not support her, and yet she loved him just for himself, not because of his money or his father's position, but sincerely from the heart. And the guy couldn't take it anymore. He broke down and started drinking, at first sporadically, then more and more often, making ends meet with occasional odd jobs and leading a miserable existence. From a self-confident, brutal, handsome man, there was no trace left. Now he was just a common labourer in a shopping centre or at a market, wearing a cap, cheap jeans from the sale, and a t-shirt. One day, Dwight was unloading a truck with furniture. Sweat was pouring into his eyes, and his back was breaking. He caught a glimpse of a couple entering the shopping centre out of the corner of his eye. A solid man in an expensive suit, about 35 years old, and a young, beautiful girl in a stylish dress were chatting happily about something. The girl seemed painfully familiar to Dwight, and it hit him. "This is Orla, My ex-fiancée. My God, how she has changed and become so beautiful. From a simple girl to a beautiful princess. Lord, what a fool I was. How I would like to be in her partner's place. To cuddle her like before, smell her hair and say those important words, I love you. Dwight was overwhelmed with anger. He couldn't take it anymore and caught up with the couple. When he learned that the man was Paul, he began to shout, "So, you stole my fiancée too? All my troubles are because of you. Orla is mine. She was my fiancée. I was rich and successful, and everyone respected me. But now I'm nobody. It's all your fault. You'll get it now." The guards immediately ran up to Dwight, pushing him away and shouting, "What are you doing? Haven't you sobered up yet? Get out of here." Then they turned to Paul and Orla and said, "We apologize for this awkward situation. We'll remove this rowdy right away." Orla was watching the fallen, drunken Dwight and couldn't believe that it was him. Paul just grinned bitterly and replied, "Your money-hungry father went to kill people. His hands are covered in blood up to his elbows, and it's not me, but he himself who is to blame for everything. And forget about Orla forever. You yourself pushed her away, drove her away, and offended her. So bite your elbows, loser. Orla is now my wife. We got married, and we're pleased. My advice to you is not to look for the guilty. Start with yourself. Change yourself inside, achieve everything yourself, and prove that you're worth something. Then life, as you'll see, will get better. Come on, Orla. Our parents are waiting for us at home." Dwight was filled with anger and resentment. He ran out of the shopping centre and rushed to the first bar. He understood that Paul was right about everything, but he couldn't get out of his alcohol addiction, nor did he want to. Orla, meanwhile, cuddling up to her beloved husband at night and listening to his steady breathing, often thought, "That's how it happens. One chance encounter on a bus changed my whole life. A coincidence? Or fate after all? Who knows? The main thing is that now I am absolutely..." Christian looked at Alex, who was leaning over his computer, and smiled, calling him. "Alex, let's go to lunch. Everyone went on break." "Or are you trying to impress Mr. Eisenberger? Do you think our boss will give you a bonus for this?" Alex did not react to Christian's words. He was completely absorbed in his work, and only came to his senses when Christian hit him on the shoulder and said, "Hey, are you on hunger strike?" "What?" exclaimed Alex, not understanding anything. "Are you going to lunch?" Christian repeated it with a laugh. "Listen, people like you used to be called bookworms, and you seem to be a computer worm." "Is that like a virus?" Alex smiled, then stood up and enjoyed stretching. "Oh, I'm so stiff." "You need a woman," said Christian, heading out of the office with his friend. "She would give you a massage, and wouldn't let you work." "I already had a woman," Alex said, waving his hand. "I'm fed up with that. I don't want to think about it anymore." The friends sat down at a table in a cozy cafe and ordered the meal. "Let's talk about you instead," Alex said to Christian. "I heard you're going on vacation soon. Have you decided where to go?" "Oh," Christian frowned. "Nothing depends on me in this case. Kelly decided long ago that we would all go to her mother's village. There's nature, a river, and all that. She promised we'd go fishing." "Great!" exclaimed Alex. "You'll rest for sure." "Oh, come on. You just don't know my mother-in-law. She always needs something fixed. The basement prepared for winter or the roof covered. There won't be time for fishing, that's for sure. It's a deadly bore. I even envy you sometimes. You are your own boss. You can relax however you want, go where you want." "It's all relative, Christian," Alex said bitterly. "You know how I suffered with Delia, and I was glad when I divorced her. But now, I don't want to go home. No one is waiting for me there now. No one needs me. I'm 40 years old, and I have no family or children." Christian didn't know what to say to his friend. He knew his story and always felt sorry for the kind, not malicious man. Alex had once been married, But Delia couldn't find common ground with his mother. They lived together, and Delia hated it more than anything. "Let's leave her," she often said to her husband. "Honestly, I can't live like this anymore." "Delia, you don't understand," Alex pleaded with his wife. "Mum is sick. She's been suffering from cancer for many years now. It's not known how much time she has left. I can't leave her, abandon her, at this moment. How do you imagine that?" "You can visit her every day," Delia insisted, "but she needs to be under constant observation 24/7. Delia, pull yourself together. Imagine if your mother was sick. Would you leave her?" "My mummy isn't sick, and she's the best person in the world. Kind, caring, and your mother is a real snake. How much blood she drank from me over the years. You don't want to take care of her for some reason, but you're making me. I even resigned from my job because of this." "Delia, you were a nanny at a daycare. What was the point of your job? I make a lot more money, and I'm taking care of you just fine. Please endure this, I'm begging you." Delia just snorted in response, and the scandals in the house continued. Alex's mother, suffering from pain, behaved like a capricious child and constantly complained to him about Delia. And Delia didn't give the poor woman an inch, didn't want to sympathize with her at all. They both tormented Alex because he had to tear himself apart between them, and there was no way out of it. "Oh, son, son," his mother cried, "how can I leave you alone? Delia doesn't love you at all. She only cares about herself. You and I don't matter to her at all. I can't ask her to buy me milk, and heard so many curses that I regretted asking. I would have gone myself, but I can't." Alex comforted his mother as best he could, and then ran to the pharmacy or store to buy her what she needed. He often did this, even in the middle of the night, if his mother suddenly wanted something special. 3 years went by like this, and the day came when Alex was truly alone. Even at the funeral, Delia showed no sympathy or support. In the evening, when everyone left, she gathered her things and announced, "I'm leaving." "Where are you going?" Alex looked at her with a tired expression. "To my mum. I can't look at you. You'll stay Mummy's little boy, just like you were. But I don't care. That's not my problem anymore. I need to think about how to live and what to do." "I don't understand you," Alex said, shaking his head. "How can you say such a thing? She was my mother. She gave birth to me and brought me up. Why should I have abandoned? For what reason?" "For me. You married me, so you had to take care of me first. Instead, all the two of us did was take care of your mother. I'm tired of you and your whole rotten family life," Delia replied haughtily. Alex opened the door tiredly. "Go. I won't hold you back. I'll file for divorce myself. You don't need to worry about that." "Okay, just make sure you don't regret it." She left, slamming the door, and waited for 2 months for him to crawl back to her on his knees and apologize. Finally, unable to bear it any longer, Delia went to Alex's house herself. "Well, haven't you thought about making up with me?" Instead of answering, Alex handed her the divorce papers. "So, that's how it is," Delia exclaimed. "I'll never forgive you. Never." She shouted something else, but Alex had already closed the door and wasn't listening. Since then, he has been living alone, and Christian sincerely believed it was better than his married life. And suddenly, to his surprise, it turns out that Alex misses his family life. "Then get married again," he advised his friend. "There are plenty of women in the world. It can't be that one of them won't be yours." "Well, maybe one of them will," Alex agreed, smiling. And in the evening, after finishing work, he went to the parking lot and pressed the button on his key. A beautiful car immediately winked at him with slanting eyes, and Alex couldn't help but smile. He had bought it just 4 months ago and was still delighted with his purchase, like a boy. He pulled out of the parking lot and was already approaching his house when he saw a young girl trying to catch a ride. Without hesitation, Alex drove up to her and rolled down the passenger window. "Where can I take you?" he asked the stranger, noting to himself that she was beautiful and young. "To White Daisy," she said. "Get in," Alex nodded. "My neighbourhood is near yours, so you could say we're going the same way." The girl flashed her even teeth and quickly sat down in the passenger seat next to Alex. But as soon as he began to move, she reached out and touched him. "I don't have any money, but I can pay you back in another way. I'll do everything so great that you want to pay me yourself." "Hey, slow down, beauty," Alex asked, removing her hand. Then he parked and asked, "What's your name?" "Coco," answered the girl and smiled languidly. "Come on, that can't be true." "Well, I'm telling you the truth. My name is Coco." "Okay, let it be. How old are you?" 19. "You're lying again," Alex sighed. "What difference does it make to you?" the girl exclaimed. "Are you a vice cop? Or do you not have enough money to pay me? Think about it. If I leave right now, you'll regret it. I know how to give a man real pleasure. You'll like it. We'll have a great time together. Do your parents know what you're doing?" "That's it. I've had enough of you. I wanted to have fun with you, not listen to stupid lectures. Why don't you go home, Coco? Or whatever your name is." "At least give me a lighter," snorted the girl. "I don't smoke and I don't recommend it to you. Listen, girl, I'm old enough to be your father, so I can give you some advice." But Coco interrupted him, saying, "Do you know how many guys like you I've had? Some were old enough to be my grandfather, let alone my father. And I didn't listen to any of them, and I won't listen to you either." Saying this, she jumped out of the car and walked away without looking back once. Alex shrugged and drove home, quickly forgetting about the encounter. And a month later he met Phoebe, a beautiful and intelligent woman who immediately filled his thoughts. "I don't understand why men were so blind," Alex wondered, hugging and kissing Phoebe. "You're just outstanding." "Oh, Alex, my dear, life is such a complicated thing, and of course I have met men before, but they all turned out to be characters not in my story. I had even begun to think that I would never meet someone like you." Their relationship developed rapidly, and soon Alex proposed to Phoebe. "Why are you in such a hurry?" she asked him. "I just want to be happy," he said gently. "I'm 40, you're 34. We can easily become parents. At least, I really want to. Alex, I need to tell you something. I was afraid to admit it, but I have a daughter. She's already grown up. She's 17. Yes, don't be surprised. I gave birth to her very early. You see, I fell in love with a married man and couldn't refuse him, or resist him, so I got pregnant. Of course, when he found out, he immediately rejected me. But I still gave birth to Kate. She's a kind girl, smart and beautiful. She's into music and is always learning something. I have high hopes for her." "Oh dear," Alex affectionately kissed Phoebe. "Why didn't you tell me earlier? Why did you think I would be against it? On the contrary, it will be just wonderful, because we will be a real family." Phoebe laughed. "Then I'll introduce you tomorrow. Come over to our house. We'll have dinner together. That's where you'll meet." In the evening, Alex came to Phoebe's house with gifts and 2 bouquets and rang the doorbell. He smiled, thinking about how wonderful their time together would be. But as the door opened, Alex's smile immediately disappeared. There was Coco, the same girl whom he had wanted to get home one. "What are you doing here?" she hissed, recognizing him right away. "Why have you come here? Who invited you?" "Your mother, Coco, or Kate, to be exact," Alex replied. "Get out of here and never come back, otherwise it will be worse." Alex wanted to respond, but Phoebe appeared behind Kate. "Well, I see you've already met," she asked. "Yes," Alex nodded. And a long time ago. What do you mean? Phoebe asked. I'll explain it to you, Mum, Kate said quickly. Once, between classes, I went to a cafe to have a snack. There was this guy, your Alex. Mum, he had his eye on me and even dragged me into a closet, but I managed to escape. Mum, how can you trust such a person? Phoebe was shocked. She didn't want to go into the situation anymore and pointed to the door, saying, Leave and never come back here. Forget that we exist. Phoebe, your daughter is a real liar. Don't believe her. Alex spoke quietly. She got into my car herself and offered herself. So you two have already met each other. Have you had something between you? Phoebe exclaimed. How can you do that to a girl who's only 17? Phoebe, we had nothing, and we couldn't have had anything. Alex continued to defend himself, but no one was listening to him anymore. Phoebe left the hallway with crying and went to her bedroom. As for Kate, she smiled cheerfully, blew Alex an air kiss and slammed the door in front of him. 6 months passed, and Alex and Phoebe never saw each other again. The man became even more convinced that he would never meet the woman who would bring him true happiness. One morning, the boss gathered the whole team and announced that everyone was invited to his son's wedding. Wow, Frank is getting married. Congratulations. Everyone cheered. He is a wonderful son. Such a smart, literate, well-bred, polite. Let him be happy. We sincerely wish him that. And who's the bride? A nice girl. She is very young, naive and enthusiastic. Mr. Ensenberger smiled. But she loves my son very much, and that's the most important thing for me. When is the wedding? Alex asked. This Saturday. The date is symbolic. It coincides with the anniversary of my wedding to Robin. So, we are happy on all sides. Please don't be late, my friends. Of course, come as couples. I will be overjoyed to see everyone. Alex, like everyone else, was about to arrive at their restaurant, but Mr. Ensenberger called him and asked for help. Alex, you don't have a lady with you, so no one will be angry with you. Please come early. The driver who was supposed to drive the bride broke his leg and is now in hospital, so we thought we would pick up the bride together and then go straight to the registration. Okay, no problem, Alex agreed. At the appointed time, he arrived at the boss's place and put him and his wife Robin in the car. Mr. Ensenberger gave the address, and Alex looked at him in surprise. What did you say? Repeat, please. Don't you know the city well? Robin laughed. Turn on the navigator, and let's go already. Alex obediently drove onto the road, but he was only thinking about one thing. Phoebe and her daughter lived at that address that Mr. Ensenberger gave. Is Kate going to marry Mr. Ensenberger's son? But how is that possible? Frank is a quiet and smart young man. He has studied abroad. His father has great hopes for him and is preparing to hand over the company to him. And Kate, she has already shown herself to Mr. Ensenberger and his wife as a naive and inexperienced girl. They believed her, but Kate has unlikely changed and, of course, will spoil the guy's life. Like Delia once ruined his own life. Alex also got married at one time to such a naive girl, and only a couple of years after the wedding, he found out that she had gotten rid of her pregnancy several times before meeting him. That's why she couldn't give birth to the baby he wanted so much. She was unable to have any children at all, and every day with her was a real torment for Alex. And now Frank could fall into the same trap. What's wrong with you, Alex? Mr. Ensenberger asked. It's such an important day, and you're frowning. Mr. Ensenberger, what's the name of Frank's bride? Alex asked instead of answering the question. Kate, why? And her mother's name is Phoebe, right? Yes, a very nice, pleasant woman. Alex pulled over to the side of the road and stopped. What happened? Mr. Ensenberger asked in surprise. Alex's story didn't take long, but when he finished speaking, an oppressive silence hung in the car. Robin sobbed. Oh, Ben, I told you this girl was no good and you didn't believe me. "I'm sorry, Mr. Ensenberger," Alex said, "but I could not help warning you. What you do with this information is up to you, but if I had kept quiet and something went wrong in Frank's fate, I would never forgive myself." "You did the right thing, Alex." Mr. Ensenberger touched his hand. "Now, let's go there. And if it's her, just nod to me." Kate, dressed in a beautiful wedding dress, bought for her by the groom's parents, shone as she handed out smiles left and right. Seeing Frank's parents, she hurried towards them, but suddenly stopped so abruptly, as if she had hit an invisible wall. It was Alex in front of her. The girl helplessly turned around, looking for support from her mother, who stood nearby, but she, too, did not take her eyes off Alex. Now Mr. Ensenberger didn't need any explanations. At that moment, the groom himself drove up to the bride's house. He got out of the car and headed towards his bride, but Mr. Ensenberger intercepted him and took him aside. They talked briskly about something for 5 minutes, and all this time, Kate didn't take her hateful eyes off Alex. Finally, Frank approached his bride. "Is it true what I have just heard?" Frank asked. "Frank," Kate muttered, "don't believe him, please." "So I can trust you?" asked the groom. She couldn't take it and looked away, looking back at Alex again. "I hate you!" she screamed at him in anger. "I hate you!" And then she ran away. Her mother ran after her, and Mr. Ensenberger turned to the guests, who had witnessed the ugly scene. "The wedding is cancelled," he said, "but we're all waiting for you at the restaurant. Today is the anniversary of our wedding with Robin. Please share our joy with us." Alex was upset and biting his lips, but Frank approached him and hugged him. "Don't be so nervous, and thank you, Alex. You know, everything happened so fast for us that I didn't even have time to realize it. She did everything to hook me, and I was blind." "It's okay, Frank. Everything will be fine for you eventually," Alex said. And a few days later, when Alex was walking to his entrance, he was attacked and got severely beaten. The last thing he remembered was someone's angry words. "It's revenge for Kate. Got it?" Alex woke up in the hospital, and the nurse, leaning over him, smiled at him and asked, "How do you feel?" "Everything hurts." "Don't worry, we'll give you a shot and you'll feel better. Just tell me how I can reach your wife." "My wife? I don't have a wife. I have no one. I'm alone." "Wow." The nurse shook her head. "What's wrong with me?" asked Alex. "You were found beaten in the street. A little more, and that's it. But now you will live happily ever after, and I will dance at your wedding," said the nurse, winking at Alex. Alex smiled. "What's your name?" "My name is Joan." "I'm going to take you up on that, Joan." A year later, Joan danced with Alex at their wedding. Several years passed. Joan and Alex raised 2 charming kids and were delighted. They were also friends with Mr. Ensenberger and his family. Recently, Frank married a nice girl and was preparing to become a father. Frank thanked Alex more than once for helping him avoid a mistake. "Can you imagine, Alex, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have met Maggie. By the way, did they find those who beat you up?" "No, Frank," Alex sighed. He often remembered what the guy said to him when he fell to the ground, and just protected his head from terrible blows. It's revenge for Kate. But he didn't tell anyone about it, and he tried to forget it himself. Once, Joan and Alex invited friends to spend time together, and while they were chatting, Joan told them about a patient named Phoebe who had come to them. Can you imagine her own daughter, Kate, beating her up with her partner? And sometimes she came to the hospital with a scandal. She always demanded money from her mother. They had to call the police. This little wretch, Kate, is so young, but she's already hit rock bottom. It seems that she and her partner are now facing a real sentence. Her mother is defending her, saying she's not guilty, and her boyfriend persuaded her. We're all just in shock. And this Phoebe still stands her ground. I feel so sorry for her. Alex, Mr. Weisenberger, and his wife exchanged glances and remained silent, and Frank hugged his wife tighter and smiled at her. Then Alex was the first to break the silence. A man's fate is in his hands, and everyone chooses who and with whom to be. Donald Berman sat in his new chair, a gift from his daughter Alison. Although it was not cheap, it had been highly praised by orthopedists and physiotherapists, and Alison had even claimed that the same chair was in Dr. House's office, whom she admired. The businessman was touched by his daughter's concern, hoping that the chair would make his work hours more comfortable. But now even the German chair seemed uncomfortable to Donald, perhaps because his young and angry daughter was sitting opposite him, drilling him with a deadly look. Alison frowned and crossed her arms, assuming a closed posture, nervously tapping her foot under the table. In such moments, she reminded Donald of an angry cat, waving its tail like a pendulum before digging its claws into somebody's face. Tension reigned between father and daughter. It's just like a scene from the Wild West, thought the father as he looked at his daughter's narrowed green eyes. It seemed like two cowboys were waiting for the signal to draw their revolvers from their holsters. "You know," said the man after the pause had dragged on, "you won't achieve anything with a disapproving look. I don't want my daughter to be a doctor. That's it." "You don't understand me," retorted the girl. "Although that's normal. The problems between fathers and children are an eternal story. Many novels are dedicated to it." Donald, unable to contain himself, rolled his eyes to the ceiling and muttered, "Excellent example, daughter. Now that you mention the novels, I should notice that many of the doctors in them died from contact with the sick. Are you really accusing me of not wanting such a fate for you?" Now it was Alison's turn to look up at the ceiling. Donald thought about how much they looked alike. The resemblance was both physical and temperamental. That was the problem. Both the daughter and the father were stubborn. Even as a child, Alison constantly expressed her opinion and pouted her lower lip if she was dissatisfied with something. Donald believed that he was to blame for his daughter's stubbornness. Christina, his wife, died when Alison was 5. The grieving man gave all his love and care to his daughter, spoiling her. No, Alison didn't make the news for drunk driving or dancing topless on a club's bar. On the contrary, she was intelligent and goal-oriented. Only her new obsession didn't give Donald peace. Instead of working in the family business, she decided to cure people of colds and diarrhea. It was a knife in the back of the businessman who had hoped for his daughter's support. The Berman's business was related to aesthetic medicine. He supplied the equipment to hospitals and clinics. Recently, Donald also opened his own plastic surgery clinic. Only Alison, having taken the Hippocratic Oath, had decided that she didn't want to fix rich women's noses. She wanted to help ordinary people. "After all, I raised the second Mother Teresa," grumbled Donald to himself. "Give her a chance and she'll pack her bags and become a Red Cross volunteer." "You just don't understand," Donald tried to reason with his daughter. "You slept on silk sheets and studied at the best university, Alison. Being a doctor in an ordinary hospital is a thankless job." The girl's nostrils flared with indignation. "First, you don't want me to give up luxury, and then you reproach me for it," she exclaimed, throwing up her hands. "I'm not going to Africa. I'll just be assigned to some hospital in our country. What's wrong with it?" "What if it's in some backwater? There isn't any romance," Donald exploded, restraining himself from hitting the table with his fist. Alison sighed and looked around the office. There were various figures of this world on the walls, from writers to scientists and businessmen who had left their mark on history. There were Freud, Kubrick and Ford. None of them were idols to her father. The interior designer had just decided that they would fit perfectly into the work atmosphere. Alison clearly knew more about these people than her father did. She looked at the black and white portrait of Steve Jobs and turned sharply to her father, asking, Do you know what Steve Jobs said before he died? The man tiredly rubbed his nose. Did he say that children's disobedience was the way to their success? Or did he advise kicking the chicks out of the nest to teach them to fly faster? Alison clicked her tongue and said, No, he said that the older we become, the smarter we get, and we gradually realise that the clock that costs $30 and the clock that costs $300 show the same time. No matter how much your car costs, the roads will remain the same, and so will the destinations. And you can be lonely in a big or small house. Her father interrupted her, asking, And where are you going with this? Alison replied fervently, To the fact that in the village as well as in the city there are people. I have decided to help them. Her father raised his voice, saying, Let those who have no other options help them. I raised you for a different life. The girl jumped up from her seat and put an end to their conversation with a sharp and categorical decision. She declared, I'll go work wherever they send me, even treating villagers for typhus, so don't interfere. Alison lifted her chin and left the office. Donald, watching her leave, sighed wearily. He knew that Alison's aspirations may have been commendable, but she did not understand how much hierarchy mattered in the modern world. Money only went to money, not the other way around. Alison, born with a silver spoon in her mouth, was determined to throw it away. She did not realize how hard it was to be poor, as she had never needed anything since birth. The man looked at Steve Jobs with displeasure for putting such crazy thoughts into his daughter's head. Then he turned his gaze to a snapshot of little Alison in a yellow dress on his desk and grumbled. If only she tried to live in the village, then she would understand how wrong she was and appreciate her daddy. At that moment, an idea came into the businessman's head, like a light bulb in cartoons. Donald grabbed the phone and dialed the number he needed. Hey, Dennis, the man smiled. How are you? Slowly but surely, came the reply. Thanks to your sponsorship, everything is going well. I'm pleased to hear. Listen, the man said, getting down to business. Can you still influence the internship of medical students? My daughter just finished college and she wants to help people. No problem, Dennis replied. Where are we placing her? To the capital clinics? To the village of some God-forsaken town, Donald replied. The most remote place you can find on the map, where it takes a week to run through the forest and bang on a pan, scaring away bears, just to get to the hospital. There was silence on the line, then Dennis burst out laughing. You're a joker, Donald, he gasped. No, I'm serious. Send her to the worst hospital, the businessman said, the most forgotten place you can find. And so began Alison's adventures. When Donald decided to send his daughter to the middle of nowhere, he hoped to knock some sense into her. He expected Alison not to even bother packing her bags when she found out where she was going. But Alison wanted to prove to her father that money wasn't everything. So she took off for Long Hill, where a place in a rural clinic awaited her. Alison travelled through forests, fields and thickets to reach the place. The doctor was given a simple house, just like the others, one floor, brick, with a tile roof. There was an old and gloomy house right next door to the doctor's house. It was wooden with windows, some of which were boarded up, clearly not meant for habitation. It was so dilapidated that if the big bad wolf from the tail of the three little pigs came, huffed and puffed, the building would collapse. At first, the girl enjoyed her new life. Breathing seemed easier away from the neon signs and city bustle. However, she soon encountered difficulties. They were not related to the cold floors, intermittent power outages, or lack of familiar products, but to the local suspicion of her as a stranger driving an expensive car. Local tractor drivers, shepherds and farmers gossiped that selling her car could buy the entire village and its residents as slaves. No one understood why such a well-groomed and young beauty came to their backwater. They were constantly testing Alison's strength, waiting for a catch. Despite this, Alison gathered her will and got down to work. She helped those in need, treating everyone with care and attention. Having recently graduated from college, she had not yet burned out or become callous, so every problem was important to her. With equal enthusiasm, Alison pulled splinters out of carpenters' fingers, treated scrapes on children's knees, and listened to elderly women complain about high blood pressure and drought killing their cucumbers in the garden. After a month, Alison got used to her new life, and the locals accepted her, and that's when the real horror began. Alison started sleeping poorly, hearing footsteps, creaks, and the mournful howling of dogs at night. She even got up at night and wandered around the house, armed with pepper spray and a smartphone, but found no one. Noticing her paleness and dark circles under her eyes, one of her regular patients, Mrs. Smith, grumbled, "You're worried about us, dear, but you're not taking care of yourself. Look how pale you've become, like a ghost." Alison tiredly smiled. "Well, thank you, Mrs. Smith, for the compliment." Hiding a yawn behind her palm, Alison explained, "You know, at night I always hear something. It's scary to be alone in the house." The old woman squinted. "You live next to the bad house where the windows are boarded up. It belonged to the former doctor. Have you noticed that it's close by? Your house was built later, on the same site. No one wanted to live in the old one." "Why not? Was the doctor a bad doctor?" Alison asked. "No, he treated everyone like everyone else." Mrs. Smith waved her dry hand. "But he went crazy. He was a good doctor, but one day his wife went to pick blueberries in the woods and disappeared. The whole village searched for her but didn't find her. The doctor started drinking out of grief. Then he took his own life. When they discovered the disappearance and opened the house, they learned of even more horrors. It turned out that he hit his wife and put her in the basement. She refused to live in the village and was going to leave him. In a fit of anger, he hit her, and he couldn't live with the guilt. He left a note of repentance. They say he still wanders there. After all, those who have decided to part with life themselves are not expected anywhere. People hear footsteps and see lights in the windows, but no one dares to go and check." Alison was a skeptic. She didn't believe in what she couldn't see, touch, or scientifically prove. Therefore, mermaids, forest spirits, and house spirits, about which the locals had already told her, didn't bother her. However, Mrs. Smith's story made the doctor's spine tingle. She did hear footsteps, but she never thought that they could be coming from the neighbouring house. Alison's workday was busy, so thoughts of the ghost doctor flew out of her head. Today a tractor driver cut his hand. She had to stitch it up and tie a bow on top, so the grown man wouldn't be too upset. Children with ringworm were brought in. They found some ill cats somewhere, kissed them, cuddled them, and caught the infection. Well, and a mountain of paperwork. Alison came home, barely managed to cook a simple dinner, and wanted to go to bed. And then she heard a creaking sound very close to her. Slept left the girl, and her eyes widened. She strained to listen and now understood that Mrs. Smith was right. She was looking for the source of the sounds in the wrong place. The noise was coming from the house next door, which was almost touching Alison's bedroom. There was only a low fence and a metre of land separating the two houses. She cautiously pushed aside the curtain and looked out the window. She gasped and hid behind the wall. There was definitely someone's shadow there, she thought fearfully. At first it was quiet, and then there was a sharp bam. And could it be someone's scream? Alison broke out in a cold sweat. "Well, I definitely won't go there," she muttered to herself to calm down. That's the law of any horror story. Don't check the basement, attic, or abandoned houses, especially at night and especially alone. That's how roosters fend off evil spirits. Dawn will come, and then I'll check. Alison didn't even realise at what point she started to believe in the power of roosters, and that the third rooster crow drives away all evil. She couldn't remember who told her this, whether it was Mrs. Smith or old Mrs. Madison. However, she now thought about getting such a useful bird for herself, or drawing circles of salt. The next morning, Alison had a day off. In the daylight, her nighttime fears subsided. The girl gathered her courage and went to the neighbouring plot. After all, the existence of a ghost still had to be proven, but her insomnia was real. The house was quiet. Alison squinted and shone her smartphone flashlight to see the surroundings. An old stove, a fallen bench, a rough table. At first, Alan decided that this was an ordinary, abandoned house. But the more she walked around, the more she realised that someone still lived there. Dust and cobwebs were not everywhere. She saw traces of someone else's meal, berries, fruits, corn husks and eggshells. And Alison also noticed rags with hardened blood. "Okay, enough for my impressions," she muttered and stepped back to the door. And then there was a loud creaking sound. And following that was a mild series of sounds resembling the patter of small feet, as if someone with light steps was walking around the house, hiding. Here, the girl almost started to recite the Lord's Prayer. She already imagined how the ghostly doctor rushed to meet his colleague, so to speak, to discuss new trends in medicine. Alison sharply turned around, intending to run away. That's not her business, however. Another annoying creak made the doctor scared and stumble in the dark. She stumbled over a fallen chair and fell to the wooden floor. The phone, along with the source of light, hit the floor, went out, and disappeared somewhere in the corner of the room. Alison cursed and tried to get up, but cried out in pain. The doctor managed to sprain her ankle. Out of anger and frustration, Alison whimpered like a little girl. She was ashamed and embarrassed. She came to a stranger's house as if hunting for ghosts, and even hurt her leg, and most likely broke her phone. "May I help you?" a quiet voice sounded. Alison froze, and her heart jumped to her throat, then fell to her heels. She looked into the darkness, crawling on the floor back to the exit. Who is here?" she whispered fearfully. And then, when she expected to see something mystical in the beam of light that penetrated the boards on the window, a boy stood up. "Oh my God," the girl cried out in her heart. "You're a child." The skinny boy in old torn clothes looked like he was 8 to 10 years old. His tousled light brown hair was covered in cobwebs, probably hiding in one of the corners of the house. The light brown eyes looked at the girl with suspicion and danger. "Does it hurt?" he repeated. Alison was surprised. Despite the fact that the child was also afraid of her, he was worried about the uninvited guest. "What are you doing here?" Alison looked at the boy incomprehensively. "I live here," the boy answered hoarsely, and a challenge flickered in his eyes. "Alone?" Alison clarified. He shrugged. "I used to live with my mum in another village. She died 2 years ago from an illness," the boy explained. "Then they took me to an orphanage. It's not far away." The boy waved his hand somewhere to the side, as if Alison could see the orphanage itself. The boy decisively approached. "Let me help you." Here Alison noticed that the child himself was lame. One of his legs was wrapped in rags. "And what about you?" She nodded at his leg. "I tried to catch fish to eat, but the stone was slippery and sharp. I cut my leg and couldn't walk for 2 days," he complained. The young doctor immediately got busy, forgetting about her stretching. She brought the boy home, took out the first aid kit, and treated the wound that had dirt in it. Then she told the boy, whose name was Kevin, to wash off the layer of dirt. Finding her black tracksuit, she handed it to the boy. Then she sat him at the table, and watching how hungrily the child ate her casserole, began to ask. "Why did you run away from the orphanage?" she asked. Kevin sniffed. "It's bad to live there. Better alone. I was recently taken to a foster family, but then returned. Since then, they have called me a stray dog and also defective. They think it's only defective children who are returned. They think I'm bad, you know, that I didn't do anything." The child began to justify himself. "It's just that their son was jealous of me to his parents. He always made up nonsense. He said I hit him and broke things, but I didn't do that. They just believed their own son and returned me." Alison's heart sank. She was shocked by the child's fate and the cruelty of people who gave him hope and then threw him away like an unwanted thing. "And how long have you been living here alone?" she asked. "Maybe a week or two," Kevin said thoughtfully. "I sit at home during the day and go out for food at night. Everyone is afraid of this house. Nobody from the local community comes here. I steal fruit and eggs. That's how I live." Alison was at a loss. She didn't know what to do with Kevin next. As if reading her mind, he looked at her imploringly and said, "You won't send me back, will you? I won't go to the orphanage. I'll run away again." His voice trembled, and at the same time, Alison's heart trembled again. She smiled softly and stroked the boy's tangled hair. "No, Kevin, I won't send you back," she said confidently. Donald Berman was driving his SUV, looking at the rural scenery. His stubborn daughter recently disappeared from the radar. Her phone stopped answering a week ago. Of course, the man was worried and went to visit Alison personally. He hoped that she would return to the family nest, realizing that she was wrong. However, time passed and it didn't happen. The man had imagined many scary things, but reality turned out to be much more interesting. He didn't find Alison's house right away. He stopped at a store and asked the saleswoman where to find the new doctor. "Alison," the woman smiled. "She lives in the 5th house with a blue roof, with her brother. If you're going there, take some goodies. Thanks to Alison, my disease finally went away, and now I feel better." The woman handed the stunned businessman bags of cookies and candy. "With brother?" Donald gasped. "Yeah, with her younger brother Kevin." The saleswoman shrugged and turned to the next customer. Donald, with sweets in hand, rushed to find the house with the blue roof. And finally he found the house, his daughter, and his supposed son, who had appeared out of nowhere. The boy was picking cherries under a bush. "Alison," the man exclaimed, calling his daughter, "please tell me, when did I have a son?" The boy looked up in surprise. Alison turned around to see a man standing at the edge of her yard. "Dad?" she said in shock, dropping the spoon she was holding. "I didn't know you were coming." Her father looked at her quizzically, taking in the scene before him. "Who's this?" he asked, gesturing towards the boy. Alison hesitated for a moment before introducing Kevin as her friend. The girl told him how she broke her phone and shared the story of Kevin. "To prevent gossip from locals, I called him my brother," the girl explained, looking tenderly at the child, who was washing berries for compote. "He helps me a lot and tries very hard. He's a good and sincere boy." "That's illegal. You should call the orphanage," the man said, shaking his head. "If you do that, I'll adopt him," the girl said. "I've looked into the orphanage. They didn't even search for him, you know. They don't care that a child went missing. But that's not your responsibility. You can't just take all the homeless people home." "Why not? It's possible," Alison answered defiantly. The father, angered by his daughter, wanted to leave. "Well, you're alive, and that's all I wanted to know." However, fate had other plans. The car broke down. Donald had to stay as a guest at his daughter's and her named brother's place. That was the turning point in the businessman's life. He saw with his own eyes how life flows calmly in the village. He realized how many kind and sincere people surrounded his daughter. Even if they were simple, they were kind. Kevin took Donald fishing. The businessman realized that he hadn't held a fishing rod in his hands for 30 years because of work, even though he loved it in his youth. In a couple of days, the locals repaired his car, but Donald didn't want to leave. The man stayed for another day, and then another, and another. His soul became attached to the boy. He waved his hand and took legal guardianship over him. "I need someone to go fishing with," Donald grumbled when a happy Kevin hugged his new father by the neck. Alison just wiped away her tears. Many, many years passed, and Donald finally found a worthy successor for his business. When Kevin grew up and finished school, he happily followed in his father's footsteps. Alison left the village as she went for a promotion. However, they still often visited Long Hill, as it was really easier to breathe there. "Go away, John. Go away. You won't get anything." The seller of a small rural shop leaned on both hands on a mop and breathed heavily. "And don't trample all over my floor. Can't you see how much dirt you brought in? I'm already washing the floors, and I'm closing up now." "Meg, what are you making a fuss about?" An already older man in wet, dirty clothes and with long tangled hair poured a handful of change onto the counter. "That's just enough for a bottle here. Give it to me. I don't need anything else." "Have you heard of the law? I can't sell alcohol at night." Meg didn't give in. "But there are still 7 minutes of allowed time." John pointed to the clock on the wall with his eyes. "Oh, John." Meg suddenly gave up. "You're putting me in a tight spot. Well, okay." She quickly counted the change and snorted, reaching for the bottle. "Where'd you get the money? Did you find a stash or something?" "No," shrugged John. "Kind people gave it to me. They had a wheel puncture on the road today, and I helped them, so they thanked me." "Ah," said Meg, "and I thought you were begging near the church. Look how dirty and sticky your change is." "Money is money," John said indifferently, taking his purchase and leaving the store. "Oh, you rascal," grumbled Meg, wiping the floor behind him. "You brought so much dirt in, and it's not even too lazy for you to run for a bottle of whiskey in such bad weather. Although, probably, it's terribly cold in his hunter's house. Well, let him drink and warm up." Meg was right. John was a real homeless person and had been living in an abandoned hunter's house for several years. Equipping a couch out of an old sofa he had dragged from the dump, a wooden crate covered with a piece of tattered, checkered tarpaulin served as his table. John had no other place to live, nor did he want anything else. Often the man could be seen on the bridge. He often stood in one place for a long time and watched as the river lazily carried its waves away from him. At such times his memories clouded his gaze, which he could not get rid of. And now, without paying attention to the rain, wind, or late hour, he came to his place and stood, exposing his face to the cold rain, and warm tears flowing from under his closed eyelids, mixed with rain streams, and flowed down, falling into the river. "It was such weather then, too," whispered John, and suddenly, loudly, hoarsely sobbed, "Forgive me, forgive me. I'm so guilty, Lord. Forgive me for everything." Suddenly, through the noise of the downpour, John heard the sound of an approaching car and screeching brakes, and the grey curtain of rain was torn apart by headlights. The car spun on the road, and as it inevitably approached the bridge, it rushed straight at John. Joy flashed in his eyes. Finally! He managed to think, and even spread his arms, meeting the thundering heap of metal, but at the last moment the car swerved again and hit the metal railing 3 meters away from John and hung over the river. John oriented himself instantly, jumped to the driver's door and carefully opened it. Almost immediately, a young woman with a large belly fell into his arms. She was clearly in labour. "Help! Help!" she moaned. "Are you alone? Is anyone else in the car?" "Alone," said the stranger, but John, having dragged her to a safe distance, still returned to the car and carefully examined it. Indeed, there was no one else there, so John immediately returned to the woman. She screamed sharply and grabbed his hand with one hand and her own stomach with the other. You're in labour," said the astonished John. "Why am I so unlucky?" "The bag in the car for delivery," the woman started, but then cut herself off and screamed in pain. John hurried to the car and found the bag the woman had mentioned lying on the floor. When he tried to pick it up, the car rocked and he had to jump aside to avoid injury. He attempted to take the bag through another door, but it wouldn't open. Meanwhile, the woman continued to shout and scream. John decided to return to her and help her instead. He lifted her up, hugged her around the waist, and led her to his abandoned hunter's house. Suddenly they heard a terrible crash behind them. "Your car has dived," John told the woman. "Good thing you're safe." They walked a little further, but the woman stumbled and almost fell. "I can't do it anymore," she cried. "Call the doctors. Help me." "The doctors won't make it in time," John told her. "Just hold on a little longer, we're almost there." Within a couple of minutes he had laid her on his bed, taken out an old kerosene lamp he sometimes used and lit the wick. He then uncorked a bottle of whiskey and poured it generously on his hands, before treating the folding knife he had taken out of his pocket. The woman, when the pain subsided, watched him, but didn't understand what he was doing. Without further ado, John approached her and tried to smile gently. "Don't be afraid. I've done this many times." He unbuttoned her shirt and took it off, then ripped her skirt in two. "What are you doing?" the woman gasped in another wave of pain. "You're going to give birth to a baby right now. What's your name?" "Zoe." "Well, hang in there, Zoe. It's already started." "I'm having twins." "Yeah, I've already figured that out by the size of your belly." John stroked the woman's knee gently. Well, calm down. Let's catch a contraction. There, good job." John delivered the first child skillfully, cut the umbilical cord, and hearing the baby cry, quickly wrapped him in his mother's shirt. He then handed him to Zoe. "Hold your firstborn. Press him skin to skin. Just cover him with the shirt on top. Sorry, I have nowhere to put him. And rest a little. In 10 minutes we'll continue." Through the veil of pain, Zoe looked at her unexpected saviour and didn't understand how this strange man knew how to deliver babies. John treated his hands again and turned to her. "Well, let's continue." Zoe nodded, but the second baby didn't cry to announce his birth, and John leaned over him anxiously. Seconds felt like hours, and Zoe couldn't bring herself to ask what happened to her son. She was suffocating with fear, holding her trembling firstborn to her chest, and at that moment she heard a light slap and the cry of the second child. "Your little boy almost suffocated," John said, wrapping him in the torn skirt and also handing him to his mother. "Well, now everything will be fine with him. And now let's finish the delivery process and everything will be fine with you." Tears streamed down Zoe's cheeks, and she couldn't calm down. John efficiently leaned over her and covered her with his jacket. "You rest now and I'll get some help. Don't be afraid, everything will be fine." Zoe was left alone with her babies. She could hear their hearts beating, and now she cried softly, realizing how terrible her situation was. John rushed to the village and knocked on all the gates, shouting, "Help! Call an ambulance!" The curtains stirred behind the windows, but no one rushed to help him. "What's wrong with you people?" said John. Finally, a woman from the farthest house looked out and invited him in. "Just be quiet, please. My child is sick. He's sleeping. Don't wake him up. I'll bring the phone now." A minute later, they called an ambulance, and John explained how to get to the woman in labour. John breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Thank God. Thank you, and sorry for the trouble." He had already reached the gate when the woman caught up with him and handed him her jacket, saying, "Here, please take it. It's my late husband's. And here are some pies. I baked them today." John wanted to refuse, but it was clear that the woman was offering him everything from the bottom of her heart. "What's your name?" he asked. "Marcia, and you?" "I'm John. Well, excuse me again, Marcia. Sorry for the trouble. I have to go. I still have to meet the ambulance." "Yes, of course." She nodded and waved her hand. The ambulance arrived in 15 minutes, and they took Zoe and her babies with them. She barely had time to thank John for his help, but he just shrugged and said, "Take care, and don't drive in that condition again." "I was due in 3 weeks," Zoe weakly smiled. "Oh, 39 to 40 weeks is normal for a single pregnancy," John explained. "And if it's twins, then you need to be prepared by the 36th or 37th week." "Look at him," one paramedic nodded to another. "He looks like a bum, but talks like a gynecologist. Hey, did you happen to graduate from medical school?" "How could I?" John smiled. "You yourself say that I'm just a bum. They don't take people like me as cosmonauts or doctors." The ambulance left and John returned to his own place. He collected and threw away Zoe's torn clothes and then sat on the couch for a long time, staring at one spot and listening to the wind and rain raging outside. It was the same weather that day, John thought again, but his thoughts suddenly left the distant past, and before his eyes appeared the slender figure of Marcia, the only woman who wasn't afraid to open the door to him. "She's brave," he said out loud, "and kind. Just unlucky. No husband, sick son, poor woman." And it was very strange, a poor homeless person sitting in a cold, uninhabited room and wrapped in a wet coat, to escape the piercing cold, pitied not himself but another person, and he pitied her sincerely and from the heart. John fell asleep only in the morning, not forgetting to eat Marcia's pastries, and he dreamt not of painful dreams, to which he had become accustomed, but of something kind, warm, and very bright, something he so lacked in his life. Zoe, under the observation of doctors, calmed down when they told her that the delivery had gone surprisingly well, and neither the babies nor she were in danger. They asked for a phone and immediately called her husband. He answered with a sleepy voice, and she smiled. "Oh, are you asleep? Well done, my dear hubby. And I have 2 news for you. Firstly, I had a car accident and drowned your new car. And secondly, we have 2 wonderful sons." "Wait, Zoe, I don't understand anything. Have you given birth? But it's still too early for the due date. Why are you calling from an unknown number?" Zoe sighed and started her story. "Did you forget how I asked you to stay? I said that I was afraid. I had a bad feeling, Harvey. I was right. You went to your important meeting and almost lost your whole family. I'm not exaggerating at all, and you'll understand that now." "Where are you now?" he interrupted, her in an anxious voice. "I'm in the hospital. The babies and I are fine. However, I need you to listen to me. When you left, I became very upset. The rain and wind began, and I was completely alone in the house. Helen asked for time off because her mother was sick. Anyway, I decided to take a bath and go to sleep. I was petrified. The wind was howling loudly, and the rain was banging against the windows. Then the lights went out. Maybe it was because of the bad weather, or perhaps a branch broke the wires, I don't know, but I was very scared. I turned on the flashlight on my phone, and I accidentally dropped the phone in the bath. I almost went crazy with fear. I leaned down to get it and then felt terrible pain. Harvey, I asked you not to leave, but you decided that nothing would happen. And it did. I started giving birth alone in the empty, completely dark house. I was petrified and decided to drive myself to the hospital. I took your car because mine was too small. At first everything was fine, but then the contractions became stronger, and several times I almost lost consciousness from the pain right behind the wheel. The wipers couldn't cope with the streams of rain, but I was still driving. And then, on the bridge, I felt really bad, and I was unable to control the car. I was spinning. I wanted to keep the car, but I crashed into the railing. Oh, Harvey, everything that happened was like a terrible dream. I still can't remember without shaking. You know, I woke up and saw a bum. He pulled me out of the car, then took me somewhere. I don't even know how to name it. He lives there. His name is John. So this very John helped me give birth. When I saw a knife in his hand, I got terribly scared. And then he called the ambulance and they took me to the hospital. Harvey was stunned while listening to his wife, and he couldn't believe his ears. Zoe, are you okay now? How are our sons? Everything is fine now, Harvey, and now, sorry, I need to sleep. Yes, rest, please, and Zoe, don't be afraid of anything anymore. I'll be there soon. Oh, Harvey, believe me, after what happened to me, I'm not afraid of anything anymore. In the evening, Harvey was with his wife, apologizing for not listening to her request and leaving her alone. Are you angry with me about the car? She asked, happy that everything was over. What are you talking about? He shrugged. The most important thing is that you and our little ones are fine. You know, when I'm discharged from the hospital, let's find John and thank him for his help. Definitely, Harvey promised. Just first, I hope you and the babies fully recover so that I can be completely calm about you. By the way, I've already invited a nanny. She'll help you, and you won't get tired. She has experience working with twins. So don't worry, my dear, and forgive me again for what you had to go through. Zoe reached out to her husband and hugged him. Thank you, Harvey. I love you very much. A month passed. One evening when Harvey returned from work, Zoe greeted him with a delicious dinner and started a conversation that didn't leave her alone. Harvey, we never thanked that man, John. Tomorrow is a day off. Let's go find him. With pleasure, my dear. I wanted to suggest this to you. In the morning they searched for John, but he was nowhere to be found. So they stopped at a small shop to buy water and also ask if anyone had heard anything about the strange bum. Of course I know John, the saleswoman Meg said eagerly when Harvey put a large bill in front of her, which she immediately hid in her pocket. I knew him and his wife Kira. To be honest, she was a real wretch, beautiful but very angry and greedy. She only married John because he was promising. He was a talented gynecologist. Women signed up for him in droves. Kira was happy at first, thinking they would be rolling in money, but he never took money or gifts from his patients. He thought it was wrong. He also didn't want to go to another hospital, even though he was repeatedly offered better jobs and better pay. His wife started nagging him because he was working all day, and they still had a bad life. As for her, she never worked a day, but she pissed him off, and finally she drove him crazy. She made him take extra shifts, so he worked all day and night in the hospital. Once he was returning home late at night after a 24-hour shift. Suddenly he saw an elderly couple hitchhiking and picked them up. It was a terrible night with terrible weather. Rain, wind, visibility was 0. I don't know what happened, but some said that John fell asleep at the wheel. Others said that he simply lost control and that he and the passengers flew off the bridge and fell into the river. He tried to save his passengers, but he couldn't. He didn't have the strength. There was a trial later and he got a sentence. His wife left him, taking their daughter with her somewhere, and he never saw them again. She sold the apartment and property because John signed everything himself. When he came back, he became homeless. He settled in an old hunter's shed not far from the bridge, and he's not leaving here. That's the story. So, he's a gynecologist, Zoe said. Then everything is clear. I was surprised how skillfully and quickly he did everything, she added. Where can we find him? Harvey asked, and at that moment the door of the store creaked and John appeared on the threshold. So here he is, Meg exclaimed. John, people are asking for you here. They want to thank you for your help. No need. John nodded to Zoe like an old friend. How are the boys? Everything's all right? Yes, she replied, and all thanks to you. You know, we named the older one John and the younger one Michael. John smiled. Nice names. Well, be happy. And you, Meg, sell to me, as usual. He went to the counter, but Harvey stepped up to him, took him by the arm and led him away. Zoe and Meg didn't hear what they were talking about, but later in the car, Harvey told his wife. He's really a strange person. I offered him money, but he refused. I wanted to help him get a job at the hospital, and he didn't want to. But he did explain where someone named Marcia lived. Her son is sick and John asked to cure him. And what did you do? Zoe asked. Nothing. We'll go to this Marcia now and we'll find out everything. And I'll pay for the boys' treatment and find the best doctors if necessary, even if they're abroad. He saved you and our children, and I'll save Marcia's child for that. Several months passed, and autumn came. John still lived in an abandoned hunter's house, although now it had some conveniences. He didn't know who did it, but now there was a comfortable sofa, a table, a chair, 2 pillows, and a warm quilt in his house, and a stove that could be heated with firewood. However, John guessed that Harvey had brought it all, and in his heart he was grateful to him for this unobtrusive help. One evening, the surprised John heard someone's light footsteps on the gravel, went out to meet an uninvited guest, and saw Marcia and her 7-year-old son. Marcia, what happened? He blurted out. Nothing, John, she replied. My son and I came to thank you for what you did and invite you to come to us. Harvey told me everything and paid for my son's treatment. Now Tommy is healthy. We just got back from the sanatorium yesterday. First, we were treated at the clinic, and then we recovered there. I'm glad, said John, looking at the boy. Let's go home with us, Tommy said. Mum baked pies. You will live with us, right? John turned away so that they wouldn't see the tears in his eyes. And when he turned to Marcia and Tommy, they saw that he was smiling warmly and openly at them. Now John knew that someone up there had forgiven him and was giving him another chance at happiness.